Hello and welcome back to Serie, a Spotlight. We're your hosts Jake
and Matt.
You know what time it is!
I can't tell you guys enough how much you've been my internal monologue when thinking about football for the last year.
Yes, amazing! We get to record while drinking some wine. Jake and I will have a very special soft spot for Salernitana.
We love him.
We love him. Stop zooming in on Allegri's face, bro. You're gonna make
How
me
are you
break.
exposing me?
Because you're gonna make me break, man. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode number 159 and we're your hosts Matt
And Jake.
here to give you guys all the talking points about Matchday 22 whilst also replying to your questions.
Yes, it's going to be a fun episode, action-packed. We've got a breakdown of the match day, of course, followed by transfer rumours. We're going to be taking on your questions, and we have also three kind of fun things that have happened in relation to Italian football over the past week, rather. A lot has happened, huh?
Yeah, there's some funny shit, also some controversial thing
as always
that happened.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that later on in the episode. Keep you guys nice and hooked in. We'll start things off as usual from our goal of the week, and our goal of the week was Lautaro Martinez's goal against Lecce. The question is Lautaro Martinez back, bro?
Lautaro Martinez, it's quite typical for him to have a bit of a dip, and for players who are literally haven't stopped since last season. We've seen a few dips in form. Lautaro is a player who didn't really have a break. You know, he had the international tournaments in the summer. They went a long way, whatever. So he did seem very tired recently, but now he seems a lot sharper. And before he actually started banging them in, he did look sharper without scoring. So he was contributing to the link-up. But now he's scoring bangers that require quite a high level of confidence to even attempt again. So I would say that he's back, yes, as it stands. I just spilled coffee everywhere for those not watching.
Yeah, 2 great goals in 2 matches from him. So I think he's most certainly back. And I think you can never discount what Lautaro does to Inter. Even when he's not scoring the goals. He's such a pivotal piece. Much like Barella's irreplaceable, De Marcos perhaps irreplaceable. I think Lautaro Martinez fits that mold. He's a rare kind of player to find. Yeah, no matter who he plays alongside, he makes them so much better, right? I mean, Lukaku, who struggled so much before joining Inter. Thuram, who wasn't really a top goal scorer before joining Inter. Dzeko, everyone thought he was past it, then he joined Inter. Lautaro definitely makes everyone around him better. And speaking of Inter and Lautaro, Nico Paz scored a worldie, and Inter seem like they're very, very interested. And I've heard that there have been a few dinner dates as well between his agent, his parents, so on and so forth.
A whole lot of flirting. However, I can't feel that... okay, so first of all, his goal was sensational.
Yeah.
Great goal. Ruined by the linesman raising the offside flag when it wasn't, of course. I think that with Paz, we've got an inevitable situation that we've seen many times in Serie A with players coming from Barcelona or Real Madrid who perform decently to well, of course, in Italy. Of course, Nico Paz is more exciting than the examples I'm about to give you. But Deulofeu from Barcelona was doing well at Milan, and he was bought back by Barca to just flip him again. I believe he wasn't even utilized. They managed to flip him.
Brahim Diaz more recently.
The same thing. Exactly. By Real Madrid too. Yeah. And they use him here and there, but it really halted his progress because he was getting regular playing time at Milan and becoming a centerpiece to a team. You know, his role was very important, was cemented in that team. Whereas at Real Madrid, he kind of dipped a little bit again. Like he's once again trying to prove himself to earn that spot where at Milan he had kind of earned it, you know. So I hope that for Paz's sake, he spent some more time at Como. Or that he's bought out by a team that isn't Real Madrid where he can really spread his wings. And then maybe, go to Real Madrid one day, but make a name for yourself elsewhere before you go to Real Madrid.
Yeah, for us, I hope he stays in Serie A, right? Yes. That's the main thing. He's such a talent. funnily enough, I think he comes from Real Madrid, but I think he's very Barcelona coded. I don't know if you get what I mean. That silky Spanish midfielder feel.
Como are Barcelona coded in general.
Oh, that's fucking true. That's fucking true.
All of them.
Cesc Fabregas pretty much played in a Spain team in the World Cup and in the Euros. That was him, Ramos, Xabi Alonso, and everyone else was Barca. I think there was Capdevila, who was a good left back from Villarreal. Otherwise, it was all Barca,
crazy.
And then Torres as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
If you guys are new here, we're on all the social media platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and more recently on YouTube as well. So subscribe to us over there and you get to see our pretty faces and Jake's amazing 125th anniversary Milan kit. Why does he have that? Happy birthday to you.
And this was my Christmas present.
Merry Christmas to you.
And Sarah and I were late. This is from my girlfriend, yeah.
And no. Yes, it's from your girlfriend. I bought you a separate kit.
Yes.
Okay. No, because you know how it is sometimes. I was wondering. Can you say thanks? No, it's not from me. And what are you doing for your birthday, bro?
For my birthday, I'm going to Milan to watch 2 games at San Siro.
What games are they, bro?
I'm gonna watch Milan Inter and Milan Roma in the Coppa Italia. This is gonna be amazing. Bro. I'm gonna turn 30 though, so there's the. It's a double edge. No, actually not a double edge. So that's not the expression.
Any of you guys are above the age of 30, please tell Jake it's fine, or give him some honest feedback. I was speaking to our dad recently. He said the best years of his life were his 40s.
Personally, I'm not too bothered about getting old.
Fucking
the older I get, the more I can stay at home without anyone questioning it too
bugging
much.
your ass, and the more you can come inside your girlfriend, that it's actually encouraged.
There we fucking go.
High five me! What's this?
I didn't even see, bro. I looked directly at the camera when you said that.
So subscribe to us on YouTube, basically.
Yes, please leave a comment as well.
Yeah, rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcast as well. You can find us absolutely everywhere. And if you really like us, we're also on Patreon. Serie A Spotlight, of course. We have an amazing community of Serie A nerds at the end of the day, but the coolest Serie A nerds you'll ever meet in your life. People that are just like us, and that's what I love about them.
One of my favorite things about the chat is that there's no real period of inactivity because of the time zone.
Yeah.
So sometimes a conversation will just pop off at 3 a.m. over here.
Yeah.
I wake up to 50 messages.
And people from all over the world as well. Alan was watching a Mexican game recently. He's in Mexico at the moment.
Shout out Alan.
Shout out to the Mexican mama, and shout out Mexico. And Singapore.
And
we're growing so much in
Cam's
Singapore.
girl is Mexican as well.
If
I'm not mistaken, yes.
Yo.
So shout out to Cam's girl.
Shout out to all you Mexican chiquitas.
Yes, there is something in it for you if you become a patron. You get to join our fantasy football league, and the winner is given a free kit from us. You get to choose the kit yourself. We will either provide it for you or send you the money to purchase it.
And you need to send us proof that you spend that money on a kit. I don't want any of you guys fucking spending it on this naughty shit.
Yeah. On books.
Delivery from Rajan Angolan.
Shout out to Joey D, who's still in first place. He's about 58 points ahead. His team name this week is Queen Adley. Every week, a banger every week. How does he think of them? I bet he has a list ready.
Madonna. There are some minds that are greater than ChatGPT, bro, and his is one of them.
Absolutely. And then second place, Alan. Alan's gone up to second, bro. This is a crazy ride.
What are you doing, dog? Where's Pieter?
Pieter is joint second. He's technically fourth in the table.
Fucking hell,
He's FC Nemesis as it stands. Alan's name is Juve Merda.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, no, we're a neutral podcast. And we also, of course, have our patron of the week. Our patron of the week this week goes to you, my brother, Luca Argento. Luca Argento, I feel like he's not celebrated enough as one of our...
He's underrated.
He's so underrated.
He's
so
slept
underrated.
on, Luca. He's always bringing the vibes to the chat, and he's always posting hilarious shit. and we love to have Luca.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, he's the best. He's, I think, the funniest guy that we have in the chat, and funny, but an eye for memes. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
a
Like we
great
could really have him with limits and with censorship running our social media.
Absolutely, yes, with a very, very close eye on him. Yeah, I'd be like Marotta, you know, one eye on the camera over here, one eye on my socials, you know, making sure Luca's not posting anything
That's
wildly
insane.
inappropriate.
That's insane. That's brilliant. But yes, I think we could just jump straight into it. So basically, we have some top games that we're going to cover for the first chunk of the episode, run through the rest of the fixtures, and then be able to take your listener questions. I think the game that we have to start with is, of course, Napoli against Juve.
Absolutely,
2-1, right?
Yes. Napoli have entered their tough stretch, and it started to be honest, they have 3 difficult games in a row. So last week they were away to Atalanta and they beat them 3-2, coming from behind.
Yeah.
Yes. And this week they faced Juve at home and they beat them 2-1, coming back from behind. Next week they take on Roma. So a tough stretch for Napoli, but holy crap, they're playing well, bro.
Yeah.
And they are united, and there are many positives I have seen. So let me just run you through this game very quickly so we can get talking. So Napoli have extended their winning streak to 7 games. Okay, they defeated Juve at the Maradona, yes, handing Juve their first league loss of the season.
Yes, sir.
Now, even though Juve's season hasn't been great, they haven't lost yet, apart from, of course, in other competitions.
Yeah.
But in the league, yes, this was their first loss. This was Juve's 6th consecutive defeat at Napoli's stadium.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh my god.
So Juve started this game with Colomwani leading the line over Vlahovic, who it's just been said that he won't be renewing. Of course, we could have all seen that coming. He was flanked by Nico Gonzalez and Yildiz, while Napoli deployed Lukaku at the center of their attack, of course supported by Politano and Neres. Juve applied a lot of pressure early on, with Colomwani disrupting Lobotka's build-up play. They capitalized on Napoli's hesitation early on in the first half, and in about the 43rd minute, I believe, Colomwani scored after Anguissa's failed clearance gave him his debut goal. Now, this, in my opinion, was one of the best Juve halves I've seen this season. They were pressing like monsters, and they gave Napoli a lot of problems.
This was certainly a game of 2 halves. Juve, I haven't seen a team play like that against Napoli since the first game of the season, where Hellas Verona killed them 3-0. But Juve, it's like they knew every single move that Napoli were going to make, and they really managed to dominate. And that's the hard thing to do against Napoli. It's dominate a Conte team.
Absolutely, yes. There are many avenues for Napoli to dominate you, and shutting them down requires, everything running smoothly, all cogs working together, while working at a very high pace as well. And I think, to be honest, fatigue was a big part of this for Juve. Because the second half, this wasn't a game of 2 halves. This was a Juventus of 2 halves.
Yeah.
Because the first half was probably the best Juve I've seen this season. Second half was probably the worst Juve I've seen this season.
Terrible.
We'll pull up the stats soon, but it was absolutely limp.
I think this is where we talk about the fact that Napoli only play 1 game a week. I know that Juve didn't have the toughest opponents in the Champions League. Let me just clarify that, because I'm forgetting who they played against. But of course, with the amount of injuries that they don't have the deepest squad ever.
They were away to Club Brugge and they came 0-0. But many of the players featured in that game, and they did press a lot in that game as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, fatigue is a big part of it, absolutely. And Napoli are definitely at an advantage over there, playing once a week.
Yeah.
Yes, the second half started and Napoli came out super aggressive. Of course, Lukaku forced Di Gregorio into action early on. Napoli dominated the first 10 minutes. It was crazy. The possession stats, I would have loved to see the first 15 minutes of that second half of the possession stats.
All Napoli.
Because it was all Napoli, honestly. Juve couldn't even react. They equalized in the 57th minute. through
57.
Yeah, through Anguissa. Exactly, and this was Cambiaso's mistake.
Exactly.
Yes. Cambiaso has given away too many points for Juventus this season, and that 60 million euro Manchester City deal is looking
it's looking more attractive.
A little bit more attractive nowadays. Perhaps that's a little bit reactionary. However, the offer is there, and Cambiaso has been showing that he can be quite a liability at the back at times.
Yeah.
The momentum shifted entirely when Locatelli, of course, fouled McTominay in the box very clumsily and very stupidly.
We saw Locatelli do the exact same thing in the Supercoppa semi-final against Milan, where he gave the penalty away and Pulisic scored it. Lunging in, he aims to get the ball, but completely misses the ball and only gets man. It's not the first time we've seen him do this. I think in midfield in Serie A this season for Juve, actually Locatelli has been it for Juve. He's been one of their most important players, because whilst Cope Miners and Douglas Luiz haven't settled yet, he's really there steadying the ship and steadying how Motta wants to play his football. Unfortunately, though, he is a very human football player, and you could never look at Locatelli and say, wow, this guy's going to be world class. I know Cassano thinks he's the best Italian midfielder in the world, but Cassano is actually like, I'm not going to say the word that I want to use right now, because he's so dumb. He's so dumb, Cassano.
He is a marketing genius, bro. Everyone's talking about him.
Yeah, he got me, right?
There we go. We just gave him a shout out.
Yeah, shout out
on our
Cassano.
little podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was his plan, right? Locatelli is a player who this season has hit new highs. However, some things remain in his game that stop him from really being a top player. When you look at this Juve team right now, they need someone to step up to kind of demonstrate what Juve is all about, what that Juve spirit is.
Yeah.
They've just sold one of their only veteran players in Danilo, one of the ones who's been there for a long time, who really understands what it means, what winning Juve means. The coach doesn't really get it as it stands, he hasn't really lived it. You look at Di Gregorio, Kalulu, Gatti, McKennie, Cambiaso, Thuram, Locatelli, Yildiz, Coop Miners, Gonzalez, Moani, all new.
That's one thing.
You have to breed a new mentality into this team.
Yeah.
And it has to come, from the players who have been here for the longest, and Locatelli is one of those, 27 years old nowadays, with a lot of Serie A experience. He should be the last one to make a mistake of that caliber in the box.
Absolutely. And I think that leads me to the point of, I know we've mentioned this before, but such a young team that Juve have over here. And I don't think, rather than that veteran that knows what it's like to be Juve, just simply an experienced footballer that knows what to do when you've got a lead, knows what to do when your teammates aren't playing well. They don't have that veteran in the team. I mean, look around you, bro. Nico Gonzalez, young, brand new. Yildiz, young. Moani, his first game. Cope Miners, new. Thuram, new. Cambiaso, young. You know what I mean? They don't have experience in this team. And in football, you need a good mix of young talent and fucking experience that can teach these young people what to do in certain scenarios, how to run the clock when you've got an advantage. They simply don't have that at all in this team. Probably their oldest player is Gatti, but Gatti is pretty much new to top flight football as well. So it's not like he could teach them a thing or two about how to sustain a lead against Napoli. The coach is young as hell as well. So I think, just to go back to what we said last week about Giuntoli, I think that was his downfall. They have a long-term project, yes, but if you have a young team, you need the supervisor, you need the guy that's second to the manager, the captain, and they simply don't have that.
Absolutely. And the two big signings that they've brought in Coop Miners and Douglas Luiz, not only have their performances been lacking, but they've been very quiet on the pitch. Almost shy, man. Almost anxious at times. they play with a lot of pressure on them, and particularly Douglas Luiz, he can be very, very frustrating, And it's always crazy when you look at a player coming from Atalanta, you always think to yourself, nah, this guy's too good to be a system player.
Yeah.
It's different. This time it's different with him, But every time they sell a player, man, it's the same bloody story.
Yep.
It's the same story. And then you look at a situation where the player leaves them to go to a system that's relatively similar, Bastoni, for example, and he thrives. Go to a new system, 4 at the back from Atalanta, forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it. You're not going to play well.
They're so different, Atalanta.
The good thing about Coop Miners is that his transfer fee was very high, so Juve probably will not want to ship him out early, so I think they're forced to be patient. And he's 26. He's no spring chicken. But
he is a spring chicken, bro, 26. He hasn't even entered his prime yet,
But that's my point, exactly. He has time on his side, despite not being a youth per se.
Yeah.
He has time on his side. And the same goes for Douglas Luiz. However, it's looking way harder for him.
But talk about instant
Napoli.
impact from Colomwani.
Yes.
He came in, and I think from the little I saw of Colomwani, because you can't judge a player in his first game against Napoli, you know what I mean? I think the fact of the matter is that he scored.
Yes.
And that's huge, because Vlahovic simply wasn't putting the ball into the back of the net. We saw him more involved in the link-up phases. Now what they're going to have to get used to is, at times when they were crossing the ball and there was no one attacking it, that's what Motta had with Zirkzee at times, and that's what Motta's going to have with Colomwani at times. And I think that is where people like Cope Miners, Yildiz and Nico Gonzalez could really get used to that extra space that there is at the punta position to attack that space. Absolutely, and to get in behind the defense. I think once they get used to that, Muani will be a huge asset to Juve.
I think so, yes. And his movement in particular was something that Nico Gonzalez was doing better than Vlahovic.
Yeah.
The movement of that false 9. But obviously it's him being out of position. Right?
He's not a presence up front like Muani is.
Bread and butter.
Exactly. And a good goal, man, on the half volley, on the turn.
Opportunistic, eh?
Yeah.
You need a certain amount of cynicism in your game to execute that perfectly. Yes. So I think that Motta's substitutions worsened Juve, to be honest. The impact they didn't even have an impact. Savona and Bangula, Conceição and Luis came on, and there wasn't really anything. While Napoli, on the other hand, brought on Simeone at the end, who looked like a dog.
Bro, that's the difference, right?
He was ready to die on that pitch, man. At one point, he was crawling on the floor, and he headed the ball on the floor. He had done that once. I remember when you were playing with Melita, you had done that and they called the foul in training.
That was bullshit. That was
you got so pissed
bullshit,
off. I remember
man.
watching it. You were like, what the hell?
In my playing days. I think that was
you
just
were like, 12 years old.
I was an animal, bro, on the pitch. I used to give it my all. But I think that's the difference, right? It's This is the thing, and I want to speak about this when we speak about Milan and the Conceição effect. The Conceição effect is there with Milan, but the instant effect that Conte has on a team is ridiculous. You know what he is? He is a world-class Davide Nicola, is what he is. He's Davide Nicola for an entire season. You know what I mean? Not for the last quarter of the season. Because, bro, Politano, firstly speak about a player that's just so overlooked. Even when they won the Scudetto, so overlooked, Politano.
He's underrated.
Because he's been around and he always does the same thing and he's not flashy, he's not sexy, he's utility. He's utility, he's a left-footed right winger. You know what I mean? But Politano, with this added grinta that he has under Conte, did you see him in this game, bro?
Bro, I've been watching him really closely this season because it's almost been... It's been unintentional for me to watch Politano so much, but I can't help every time I'm watching Napoli, his tracking back, man.
Bro.
It's insane. I didn't think he had that in it. When he used to play for Sassuolo, I thought he was more of a, back in the day, remember, Sassuolo, Napolitano, he kind of reminded me of Suso almost. That small kind of guy. He didn't have that bite to his game. Nowadays, bro, he's fearless. And he's a little
and that's what he's always given Napoli. It's not like this is a completely new thing.
Yeah.
Sure, has he hit the red hot zone of his work ethic under Conte? Yes, but he was in the hot zone earlier. He was always a very industrious player, and I think he's super, super underrated, Politano, and we saw in this game he proved that. Speaking of, I just want to say that since I've called Meret ass in my solo episode because you couldn't slow me down over there, and don't laugh, because ever since you said Dumfries is the worst right back to ever win the league, they've been unstoppable.
Dumfries, by the way, now is the best ever right back to win the league, I think, honestly. But you know what, man? I think that Dumfries...
Let's not get into Dumfries too much. No.
You're right. But my point stands on a level of technique. Let's just say that.
Fair.
Because Dumfries' strengths are his physicality and his mentality, while his actual technique, although it has improved and although he scored some goals which have been mind-blowing this season, he's no world-class player.
You have one of Sarah's hairs on your beard. I got you, bro. But then you have players who are exceptional for their technique, and then you have players that are exceptional for other reasons. Yes. And I think Dumfries, for the way that Inzaghi utilizes his right wing backs, he's doing a perfect job, to be honest, this season.
Yeah.
But back to this, Meret made an incredible save where he went down to one side and then got up and managed to save the rebound by going to the right. And Di Gregorio got down incredibly well to deny Lukaku as well.
What a save. What a showing,
what a showing by two young Italian goalkeepers, man.
And young, of course, by goalkeeping standards, just for those who are... actually. Juve's second half, bro, I've pulled out the stats. They had 0 chances, 0 shots. Meret had 0 saves. Juve, of course, had 0 corners.
0 balls.
They had half the passes that Napoli had. They had 1 yellow card. And that's the worst part of it all.
You should have 5.
Exactly.
You should have 5.
With these stats, you should have a red card. Like, you know what I mean? If these guys are just running the ball, like you have a 1-0 lead going into the second half, and you're just going to let them do this to you.
It's ridiculous.
Kick them,
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I think a special shout out goes to Anguissa. He scored his 5th goal of the season, and aside from the goals, he's everywhere in that midfield, bro. It's almost like we know what Lobotka does, right? Where he controls the tempo of the game. Anguissa is the perfect example of a box-to-box midfielder this season. He's just up and down with serious goal-scoring abilities with late runs into the box. McTominay he was so attacking in that second half, man. He was up like on Lukaku's ass, and I think that's the way to utilize him. And it's such a nicely balanced midfield, man.
Yeah, it really is, and they're just so much fun to watch. And honestly, watching them, you can't help but feel that this is their year.
In my opinion,
We have a question about this.
I'm surprised I haven't put money on it yet.
The odds are getting worse and worse.
Napoli will win the league.
It's been better and better for them, worse and worse for you. But so yes, I think when it comes to my notes, I don't have anything else that I want to add to this one. However, I do want to mention that L'Equipe have reported that Juve have been in contact with Xavi. It is normal. They did say in the report that it is normal for, of course, top clubs like this to be in contact with managers just to feel them out. And it had also been reported previously that Juve, with or without Champions League, will continue with Motta. However,
that's where my mind went.
There is a feeling, that if things get really bad, Motta isn't safe.
I don't think he's certainly not excluded from the conversation of can he be sacked. I think if they've got half a brain cell, the board and the directors and the management, they'll see what he's working with and be empathetic towards him.
But see what he's working with and be empathetic.
The super young squad, the amount of injuries,
But
the amount of
super young,
new
however-
faces. This
however-
is what Juve wanted to do this year, and I think if they don't make Champions League, it's not the end of the world. I know people are talking about Juve have to make Champions League. Relax. Juve needed to hit the hard restart button. After the Allegri era, they had all of those Scudetti in a row, and then they tried something different with 2 different managers. They didn't make it work. They brought him back. They were shit, essentially. Bonucci out, Chiellini out. They lost a bunch of
They
stars.
killed their finances.
They
with-
killed
with
their
Ronaldo.
finances with Ronaldo.
Yeah, yeah.
And now they're rebuilding the team. They've gotten Giuntoli on board. They've gotten a young manager in Motta.
Yeah.
This is a long-term project. It's a completely a long-term
Absolutely,
project.
yes. However, my question is, and I still don't. I mean, I'm leaning towards an answer. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not quite sure yet. Is it Giuntoli or is it Motta who's to blame for the players brought in not performing? Because honestly, Nico Gonzalez, Douglas Luiz, and Coop Miners being brought in had everyone hyped. We were hyped at this. We're like, that's one of the. That's going to be
They
one of
go
the
in the
best
league, like.
midfield. Exactly, one of the best midfields in the league, and they can probably push and contest the title. I mean, surely they're not going to be favorites with a new team, How do you explain that all 3 of those big signings, who were key players at the teams they were at before, because Coop Miners at Atalanta was the shit.
He was
He was
Atalanta.
yes, he was amazing. He was for them. Everything would go through him. Super creative, would put in a shift in that midfield. He was an exemplary player. Gonzalez was an animal at Fiorentina, playing on the wing, scoring headers, winning fouls.
We
later
saw him
on,
struggle
holding the
as
ball
well.
up. We've
We
seen
did
his
see him
struggles,
struggle.
yes, but he was overall an animal for them. And Douglas Luiz was hailed as world class at Aston Villa. The one I understand the most is Douglas Luiz coming into a new environment, a new league. Sure, I understand that, but the other 2, bro.
I think the blame is to be shared. And don't get me wrong, Motta could still not be the man for the job. He could be a phenomenal manager, bro. We saw Gasperini fail at Inter. We saw Pioli fail at Inter, for example. We saw Pioli fail at a lot of places.
Yeah.
Might simply not be.
Gasperini ran around a lot for the.
Yeah. He might simply not be the man for this particular team. A team that is so traditional, a team that's so rigid. I don't know. But I think the blame is absolutely shared. But I think the way that Juve operated in the market, I don't think there was balance in the sense that they could have brought in some experience.
There were some. Okay, very good point. However, I think they looked for experience with upside as well. That's why they brought in these 26-year-olds. Because everyone
and they brought
was
in
26.
people familiar with the league,
Yes,
with Kaluzu
exactly.
and Cope Miners, like you said earlier.
Yeah, even Nico Gonzalez. Exactly. These guys are all 26 years old, playing in Italy for a while, so you kind of get both things.
Can I just
However,
mention one more thing? Sorry, go on.
Sorry. There are areas that simply weren't addressed.
Yeah.
Left back.
Centre back.
Centre back, exactly. Bremer's injured, all of a sudden they have to play Kalulu as a centre back. I don't know if that was the plan all along. Striker, like you're going to bank on Milik, exactly, to be healthy, but we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. Napoli did this still without Buongiorno. Which is to be addressed, because last season, when they had lost Kim the season before in the summer, and they didn't find a replacement, so they played that entire season with Rahmani and Juan Jesus and at times Ostigard. And the main criticism was, you didn't invest ADL, you didn't invest in a centre back. Invested in a centre back. He's been injured for a month. And they're winning every single game. They're on a 6-game winning streak. That's what a world-class manager does, right?
Absolutely. And coming up with a system where Juan Jesus is kind of protected.
Yeah.
More often than not always. Yeah. But more often, yes. You are aware of your strengths, of your weaknesses, and you protect them. You help them out a little bit. You don't isolate Juan Jesus, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And we lost Kvara because they're doing just fine without Kvara as well.
Have you seen Kvara's debut, by the way? Did you see what happened?
No.
They came 1-1 to Teddy Teuma's team, brother. Teddy Teuma played 60-something minutes. Teddy Teuma, our boy from Malta.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think
From
that's
Malta.
all from
From Malta.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it.
Hello.
I used to. You guys
I'm
know,
from Malta.
bro. I worked at the desk at Corinthia with the Maltese national team. You say I've said some stories about that here with the Maltese national team. But Teddy Teuma came to check in. I'd speak to them in Maltese, right? It's one of the times you get to speak to people in Maltese nowadays in Malta, and didn't speak Maltese. Barely spoke English, and I had to bring in a French person to help me do his check-in because he didn't know what room number 223 was.
No problem, we'll take him.
Yeah, we'll take him. We'll take anyone.
And if you have any more, we'd like them too as well, actually, because the
Exactly.
Maltese national team has actually, now this is the best Malta side I've ever seen in my life. And
Great,
they're still
huh?
not
Yeah.
winning, you know?
Yeah. We can move on, brother.
Yes, the
We can
next
certainly
game
move on.
was Lazio 1, Fiorentina 2.
I loved this
And
game.
but I couldn't help. I was so disappointed.
Why?
I was so disappointed by like how many times is Baroni gonna make this mistake? Like against a big team in an important game, you just go gung ho.
Yeah.
Play such an offensive team. Your fullbacks totally advanced. They scored 2 goals in 18 minutes, Fiorentina. The game was pretty much over from the get-go.
Yeah.
They were playing them in behind. They found so much success behind those fullbacks, behind Marisic, particularly, and Pellegrini.
Yeah.
But I was a little bit disappointed. At the end, it proved to be a spectacle, and the ending, I gasped.
Man.
But anyway, let's get into it.
Let me just say, it didn't help that Rovella was, of course, out injured.
He wasn't
He was
injured.
doubtful though.
You know what happened?
He wasn't 100%.
Apparently, something like a personal problem, like I think it was his grandma or something.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, and the thing is, he still played the second half.
Yeah, but he was doubtful, right? For some reason or other, he couldn't start the game, and I think part of the reason that Lazio went to overwhelm was the home advantage. Fiorentina hadn't won a game in 7 matches, and they were super leaky defensively as well. Plus, with Della Bashiru in the team, alongside Guendouzi, there was no controlling the game. There wasn't control the tempo, so on and so forth. That's not what those players are gifted at. They're gifted at bombing. They're good in bombing situations in an end-to-end game. So I think they went in willingly, like our objective over here with Della Bashiru and Guendouzi in midfield is attack. And they thought that they could perhaps overwhelm a struggling Fiorentina.
Della Bashiru played instead of Rovella when they did the double against Napoli earlier this season.
Good point.
And however, that makes
They're
sense
very attacking.
because Napoli have a very powerful midfield, a very strong, physically strong midfield. You know, Gussam, McTominay, whatever.
Yeah.
So going for Della Bashiru, you match them physically. However, Fiorentina aren't like that at all.
No.
Fiorentina are quite small as a team. You know, granted, this game Folorunsho was playing and immediate impact.
Folorunsho, fucking legend, man.
Physical player.
Amazing.
But I think this was quite unideal for them to start with Della Bashiru instead of Rovella. I think Rovella would have helped out those fullbacks, especially because he's really good at reading play, man, Rovella, and like positioning himself in good defensive positions as well. But anyway, let's get into it. So Fiorentina took an early lead, of course, with 2 goals in the first 17 minutes. The first one was scored by Adli, a lovely goal in the 11th minute. A nice little volley over there. He's become really good at that. Huh?
Yeah.
Followed by Beltran's header from Dodo's cross. Lazio struggled to find rhythm, of course, in the first half, had a few chances, like a close-range Pellegrini header, which went high. Lazio's pressure in the second half increased with their substitutions, but Fiorentina defended solidly and countered effectively. The hosts had a disallowed goal from Castellanos, and they hit the post late through Pedro. Marisic scored in stoppage time, but it wasn't enough to salvage a point. And finally, Pedro's effort at the death, hitting the woodwork. And honestly, how didn't that go in?
Madonna, bro. It literally rolled. It hit the inside of the post, rolled across the face of a goal. Like, you could argue that a poacher should be onto that, but it's obviously... it looked like it was going in. It couldn't have been any closer, man.
And this game, so coming into this game, there was a lot of talk about renewing Marisic because he scored a winner recently.
Yeah.
And he has always been a soldier of the club, a good player for the dressing room. This game was the opposite of the Marisic that we have grown to know. Because Marusic, the Marusic we all know, is solid defensively. He doesn't give much. He doesn't he doesn't give much. He doesn't give up much defensively.
Yeah.
And then going forward, he doesn't offer much. So usually you have a defensively sound player who isn't going to give you much going forward. And that's why Nuno Tavares was such an exciting signing, right? This game, he was at fault for one goal completely. It was his fault. It was played in behind him entirely. Defensively, he was really shaky, and then he brought them back into the game by scoring. And later on, he had an attempt from far out as well. He shot, and he forced the keeper into a good save as well. So all of a sudden, he was a defensive liability and their main goal threat going forward. Like, what the hell am I living in
it was
in
weird.
Another dimension or something, but in an alternate reality?
Yeah. Marusic, he's quite a jolly in that sense as well, though. We've seen him at the end of, like you said, a winner every now and then, a vital assist, etc. He can insert himself going forward. I don't think he gives nothing going forward. I think even when it was him and Lazzari would go forward quite a bit as well.
He's a man of moments, Marusic. He's one of those. Lazio had an Europa League game midweek before this one. And it was a commanding victory for them against Real Sociedad. They were 3 goals up.
Oh, yeah, where Hila scored early on, right?
Hila scored early on, then Zaccagni, and then Castellanos shortly after. However, when you look at that game, the bench was super thin. They brought in Della Bashiro, Pedro, Noslin, Chauna, and Balde, and apart from those guys, there are 3 players left, and I think one of these guys might be a keeper as well.
Provedel.
Provedel's a keeper, yes, but I think this guy Zazza, let's see. Under 19. No, he's a defender. This guy Zazza, and Furlanetto is a goalkeeper. So exactly, apart from the subs they brought on, only one player was an outfield player. Apart from the subs they brought on,
they
so
do
really
run thin.
Right,
they do run
really
thin. And the deeper hot take, I don't think Lazio are gonna get Champions League. I know they're it's there's a super high probability that once again Serie A will have the top 5 teams going to Serie A, which thank God, bro.
I know, right? I know.
Fucking God, man. But their squad is far too thin, and they're doing far too well in the Europa League for their own good. Because a couple of injuries and they're finished. They need a centre back. They need a central midfielder. They probably they don't need another striker because Dia can kind of play there as well. They're thin. They're running super thin.
And they took some gambles. For example, the what's his name, bro? Castrovilli. The Castrovilli gamble, for example, ended up with Dia having to play in the hole.
Exactly.
And like that, you have Castellanos as a striker, and you can't really rotate. They brought on a player. Okay, this winter it's Aryon Ibrahimovic, who can play as a winger or as a trequartista. You know. Not really been utilized yet because they bought a youngster, that's one for the future. But there are certain positions that need to be addressed now. The centre backs, the full back department could use some more help. The midfields, that double pivot needs some help, man. You know, and you're right. If they're going to compete on all fronts this season, because they're still in 3 competitions, they're really thin. They're really thin, yes.
They're in trouble.
And now they're playing, have you seen this Mohamedou Balde?
No, bro.
Mohamedou Balde, bro.
I saw him come on, but as in I didn't really see much of him.
Mohamedou Balde. I don't want to give the wrong information. Let me just confirm this. Okay, a bunch of
the first thing that comes up isn't even a footballer.
Yes, okay. So Mohamedou Balde is related to Keita Balde.
Yes.
I'm trying to say yes. I'm not sure if he's his brother or his son, bro. I think it's his brother.
It must be.
It must be his brother,
his little bro.
That would make sense. Yeah, 1995 Keita Balde, so it's not really possible. Yeah, it's his brother, dude.
That's crazy. Keita Balde was born in 1995.
Yeah, Keita
He's
Balde
still 30.
Keita Balde is my age. Yeah. And he's recently been accused by Icardi. Have you heard this?
Yes, bro. Oh my God.
He's been accused of sleeping with Wanda Nara when Icardi and Wanda were together.
No, not respect. But did you see someone sent a photo of him? And I didn't know he was basically a model, man. Firstly, he's built like a supermodel, like he should be on Love Island chiseled. Kind of thing. That's a funny photo. Yeah. He's a good-looking dude, though, man.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, no, Keita Balde is a good-looking guy. But I think on the other hand, what we have in Fiorentina, firstly, they can breathe a breath of fresh air, because 7 games, bro, without a win was getting super, super worrying for them. And you see what a win does. They're now fighting for Champions League again from a simple victory away to Lazio, which is by no means a simple victory. And I think the first half they were very dominant. They could have made it 3-0, but Goodmanson hit the post with a spectacular bicycle kick. But they really could have gone in 3-0. That's some other chances as well. I thought that defensively they were incredible. And what was the difference? They played Pongracic. Pongracic finally got given another chance. Pardon me, I'm just gonna... And I thought that, aside from Pongracic being excellent, man, how fucking good was Ranieri?
Ranieri is just good. So dependable, bro.
I'm just gonna be the sensationalist Matt that I am, but I haven't seen a centre-back performance like that in a Serie A match from Ranieri.
Since Pavlovic.
He was throwing himself in front of everything, bro.
He's like that. He's like that. He's super clutch as a defender.
And Pongracic as well. I saw him give the ball away a few times, trying to do what Pongracic does best. And then Comuzzo came in, and when they went for the 3 at the back towards the end, and he was flawless as well, which shows that obviously it was probably a little bit of a negative spell that Comuzzo had. But 3 really, really talented centre-backs over there, and playing Pongracic was a good move, because how could you? This is what I hate. And Lazio had done this with that goalkeeper, Maximignano, where you get a red card in your opening game or something bad happens and you just don't see the light of day again, man. Playing a debut, bro, is a lot. It's you could make mistakes in your debut. You can't judge a player simply by a red card on the opening match. He's the most expensive defender ever in history, and he had a great game, Pongracic.
He did. And particularly, it was Ranieri who stood out to me particularly, bro, because he is one of those players who wears his heart on his sleeve, and it means a lot to him. And he's only 25. So
only 25?
So we could see, and he's been around. He was at Salernitana back in the day. I think we might see a call-up for him one day. I think when it comes to this generation of centre-backs in Italy, they're good, but there are many of them. You know what I mean? There aren't that many elite ones. Like Bastoni is one of the only guarantees for the
Bastoni is incredible.
But Bastoni, Buongiorno, Calafiori, I would say yes, they're
like the untouchables.
Yes, the untouchables. But then there's the likes of Mancini, man, who you can call up. There's the likes of
there's Acerbi.
But Acerbi's on the older side,
but Chiellini and Bonucci and what they did in the Euros, for example.
But Ranieri, I wouldn't be surprised.
But then there's Scalvini, Comuzzo, Gabbia is excellent as well. Ranieri.
I blanked out totally. I couldn't remember a single one. I wanted to also say Adli was sent off this game when he was substituted.
So he got a yellow card for taking long to come off the pitch, and to me he was jogging. So I couldn't believe that he got a yellow card. And then the second he stepped off the pitch, he kicked a ball into play, and he got a second yellow card. It's crazy, man.
Now my question is, does that count on fantasy football? Like, the people... No, because he was off, right?
What a question.
We'll look into it later, because we're not going to find the answer right now.
What a question. We'll have to go on whoever has Adli and see what happened over there.
So...
Of course, as well, red cards for both managers. A red card for... where's mine?
Baroni?
For Baroni first, exactly.
And then Palladino.
And then Palladino also got sent off, which I found a bit surprising. But pressure was on at the end, right?
Yes, totally. And Baroni took it really well. He's such a positive man, Baroni.
He is.
Even how he speaks afterwards. He's very positive.
I like him a lot, Baroni.
So for me, this game was... I found it to be a little bit disappointing because of Lazio's gung-ho approach.
What's his gung-ho?
They go so aggressive, man, for the victory. Very offensive. And it's almost like they don't take into account that their squad might be fatigued, that these guys, most of them played an hour against Real Sociedad. There aren't really any substitutes. You're playing 4 forwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is an important game.
Don't undermine what Fiorentina were capable of doing as well, because Lazio have overwhelmed teams as well.
But you get at least a draw. You maintain a 3-point gap between you and 4th and the rest beneath you, excluding the games in hand. They almost did at the end, yes. But But this, I felt like they could have taken a bit of a backseat approach and
been
a
smart.
bit more street smart about it, and hit them on the counter, because Fiorentina need to win to close the gap with Lazio.
Yeah.
So I feel like this was a bit of an opportunity for Lazio, and they wasted it. They got it wrong, quite frankly.
Yeah, they got it wrong.
Yes.
That's the thing. Because like I said, I think what they wanted to do was, Fiorentina are on shit form. Perhaps they didn't respect their opponents enough, and they went out gung-ho, apparently. I need to make one more point. It is time, finally, that we talk about 23-year-old Beltran. Because the season Beltran is having is... no one's talking about Beltran, who is on 4 goals and 5 assists. And he's been playing left winger, he's been playing attacking midfield, and at times he's been playing striker. Super versatile. He's been what they were hoping Goodmanson would have been upon signing. Beltran has been super, super, super dependable. And there's always, in that front 4, there's always a space for him. And he's become a consistent starter, one of the first names on the team sheet. We saw him score a header at the far post in this game, which is by no means his strongest point.
Yes.
But wow, I'm really, really impressed by him. And he's 23 years old. This is his second season in Serie A. Before that, he was at River Plate or something. Really, really good stuff by him.
And this is proof that you need time to settle into a new league. Totally. The culture, the language, the game, the mentality, everything, man. You need time. And you come in. Beltran, sorry, Tav, you had to ask me last season if Beltran would be a key player in Fiorentina this season. I wouldn't have said yes, but from the things I saw last season.
I would have said Cabral has more of a chance.
Beltran showed a few flashes, but he was really struggling. This season, he's understood it, man. And you can tell, he's really adapting to the culture. And when Milan bring in players like...
What a segue.
Like Pavlovic, and try to ship him off after 6 months. That pisses me off, because you need to give these guys time to settle. Back in the day, you would give players a season guaranteed.
Yes,
a season, 2 seasons, and then you get the player you bought.
What Milan are doing is ridiculously dumb. Yes. And Pavlovic... Let me tell you what.
Shall we just go to Milan?
Let's go to Milan. I feel like I had another point to make about this game. Just like, remember Colpani? Just like,
remember him?
Remember Colpani? What a signing he was.
That means next season, Colpani will be good.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah. Milan. Pavlovic. Let's go straight to Pavlovic.
Shall we start? Okay, I have a poem.
A poem for Pavlovic.
Yes.
Before we get into it, say your poem so that people could actually look into the metaphors.
So this is called Ode to the Beast, aka Strahinja's song. Strahinja, our fortress, our iron wall. You rise for each header. You win every ball. With speed to recover, with passion so raw. A beast in the backline, inspiring awe. Box to box, you turned the tide. In Milan's comeback, you were the guide. Let Moncada talk, but we know the truth. Our warrior stays. The heart of our youth.
Fucking hell, bro. Goosebumps. Because let me tell you something. Pavlovic just earned so many points for me. Because...
And 3 for Milan.
And 3 for Milan. He was, in this game, everything we wanted him to be. And I'm not going to say he was great before... There's a reason, right, that Milan were looking to offload him. But, of course, what you said about time, and by the way, it's not like he was horrible. Completely deployable.
For sure, yes.
Deployable. He even scored against Lazio. And when was the last time they scored a corner after that? Never, I think. But Pavlovic... with all that noise going on in the background, went into this game and he was unplayable. He was unbelievable. And we don't deserve him. Milan don't deserve Pavlovic because they're trying to offload him like he's just a number. Like he's a figure in this balance sheet that they care too much about. And he went in there and he gave them more than his heart. He gave us his soul, not his heart, his fucking soul, all of it. And Pavlovic, he's at this point today. You ask me, Matt, who's your favorite player at Milan? After that, Pavlovic.
I mean, I've had a soft spot for him since the first game I watched him but he's, as you correctly said, he's by no means perfect. Of course he's not. He's 23.
Completely deployable,
right?
though,
23,
man.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely not the type of player you bench for 10 games in a row without featuring at all. That's not the type of player he is.
Stupid.
He, like you said, man, what he lacks in maybe experience and in technique, he makes up for in bravery and desire and just passion, dude. How many situations were there this game where Milan were going forward and you know those balls come into the box, and in reality you've got no one to attack them, because none of the midfielders are going to win a header, none of the forwards are going to bloody win a header for Milan right now. Even Tammy Abraham, who's a 3, can't even hit the ball on target. It was all Pavlovic just inserting himself in the box, winning knockdowns. He scored a goal, was obviously ruled out for offside. And then you see, for example, he wins a header, knocks it down to a teammate. They're counter-attacking, and who dispossesses them? Pavlovic. He was a box-to-box centre-back.
He was, bro. What an incredible performance.
I loved this performance by Pavlovic.
And if they let him go now, they're
foolish,
dumb.
Foolish, absolutely
they're dumb
foolish.
if they let him go now after that. And if it ever comes to a point where Milan want to go 3 at the back, I know that probably the best shouts for a 3 at the back would be Tomori, Gabbia,
Walker,
and Chow, or nowadays Walker as well. Fair fucking enough, bro. Fair play. However, in a 3 at the back, if you want good balance, and if you want a well balanced 3 at the back, I say play Pavlovic. Pavlovic starts in a 3 at the back. I say Gabbia, Chow, Pavlovic.
Yes. Yeah. If the coach would even want a 3 at the back, because I don't believe Conceição.
But he has operated with a 3 at the back, shifting from a 4-4-2 to a 3-5-2.
Because he looks for in-game solutions. Yeah, he's quite adaptable, which is nice. I love that. I love
and
how you don't have a fixed formation. I love that.
You have the play-by-play, because I have a key point about that. Start with that.
It's quite brief. I just wrote that Milan staged a remarkable comeback against Parma, turning a 2-1 deficit into a 3-2 victory with 2 late goals in injury time in the 92nd minute and the 95th minute. There was drama both on and off the pitch. Of course, Conceição's tactical bravery shown this game, because he replaced Theo Hernandez and Rafa Leao at halftime. While they, of course, sparked controversy, they ultimately proved to be effective. Tensions ran high post-match when Conceição confronted Davide Calabria. He ran straight up to him after the final whistle and started telling him off, and they had to be separated by players. Reports suggest that the conflict stemmed from Calabria's reaction to being substitute in the 77th minute, and his attitude when Parma scored their second goal, as well as the fact that him and a few others had attended a concert the night before, and apparently Conceição did not like that one bit. It was Calabria, Theo Hernandez, Camarda, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek. They attended a Lazio concert on Friday night, just a day and a half before the game against Parma. Of course, this raised quite a few eyebrows. And Conceição was there just wondering, like, what the hell is this mentality?
Apparently now it was quite controlled. When there was a Milan photographer and everything, it was like they made an attendance kind of thing. It's not like they were there going nuts. But I get Conceição is a little bit more old school in that sense. And of course, let's talk a bit about Conceição. Let's start with the clash with Calabria. It is something that should be kept for the dressing room, but honestly, look at me, don't care. I don't care. He's a manager. That's his personality. He's the tough guy. Don't ask me if there was any rationale in him or if he was overcome with emotion. Probably because it was a miraculous comeback from the 92nd minute. But to be honest, everyone's going crazy about saying how it says a lot that Theo and Leao were substituted at halftime, then the coach squared up with Calabria after. Bro, Theo Hernandez was holding Conceição back, calming him down, whispering in his ear. Leao has said he's ready to die for Conceição. There's no issue. Conceição is a problem. If you cross the line, if you kick bottles and they fly into his direction when you're substituted in the 77th minute because the manager is bringing on a striker, because it's obvious you take out a right back to bring on a striker and you have a shitty attitude about it, the manager's going to go after you.
What needs to be highlighted over here is the fact that these things are extremely normal and they happen on a pretty much day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it just happened in front of the cameras.
It just happened exactly in front of the cameras, and it was particularly strange because there was a contrast of emotions, because Milan had just scored the winner and all of a sudden you've got the captain, the ex-captain and the manager arguing. Now,
that's another factor. He stripped him of his captaincy.
I want to just take you through what Calabria has been through recently. He's the longest serving member on this Milan team by a landslide. We're talking... Calabria debuted when I was a teenager for Milan, you know? When I was 18 or 19 years old, he made his debut for Milan. So he really understands what the golden days were like. Not the golden days per se, like you know, but
remembers the banter era.
He remembers the banter era. That's another thing. He knows what it's like to be at the lowest, and he's stuck by Milan. He's Milan through and through. A Milan youth player from the get-go, right? Now,
it was seniority that got him the armband.
Seniority got him the armband, exactly, and he played quite an important... After having played a decent season at right back, of course. This season, Conceição arrived, he stripped him of the armband after he was benched for a player in Emerson Royal, who's an international meme. Now Walker has arrived, so probably he's not going to see the light of day again, you know what I mean? He was playing quite decently, you know, he was subbed off decently. I mean, some of his crosses were wayward, but apart from that, obviously, he had a pretty decent game, I thought, Calabria. He was substituted and probably had got shit for attending this bloody concert, you know what I mean? And overall his personality was being questioned and all that. There's just a lot going on in Calabria. And he said himself after, he said in his personal life he's having some problems as well. So we never really know what a player is going through.
No, that's always the case.
What kind of piles up and what causes an outburst of that. Because there are so many factors. There's your personal feelings. There's the adrenaline from the moment. You know what I mean? Your team just scored the winner. God knows how he felt at that moment. It's probably like, I'm substituted and they go on and score too. Fuckers, like
but I mean, it was an attacking move, right? But I get you. Like, it's just like Conceição had his outburst out of emotion. Calabria had his outburst out of emotion. Yes. You know, Calabria, like you said, he's a youth player of Milan. I'm not saying that Milan owe him something, but to be honest, they kind of do. Because, like you said, he's been there through the dark days, and he deserves respect. Now, I'm not saying
they're not even renewing his contract. They're letting it run, which is another massive thing.
I'm not even saying you have to renew his contract. You don't have to play him, but you have to treat him with respect. But Conceição is that character, and I don't think it's deep, bro. I think it's deep for Calabria because he's been through that timeline that you alluded to. But I think they would have kissed and made up already. You know, Calabria is not. He doesn't have a shit attitude. He's a true professional. If there's one thing you'd always give Calabria, is that he's a true professional.
On the pitch, off field, apparently he has an interest in wine. Apparently he's got his vineyard.
His surname is Calabria. It's one of the top regions for Italian wine, right?
Yes, but we can't really complain from what we got. I mean, Davide Calabria has always given his all. He's the type of player who's not a superstar, but I think he's shown his human side, but he's always been a dependable player.
Yeah.
But that probably is another massive thing, the contract renewal, the fact that he probably feels a little bit mistreated because he's been there the longest, and now they're just letting his contract run, and he's 28 years old.
Yeah. And he's certainly gonna downgrade, unfortunately. What about the Theo Leao substitution at halftime? What did you make of that? Because let's just be clear, Theo was at fault for the first goal.
Yes.
And both Leao and Theo had a bit of a shit show. Apparently, there was a bit of a muscular issue with Leao, and he wanted to make sure that he's totally fine for the very, very important Champions League match against Dynamo tomorrow, which is a must-win for Milan to get top 8 and avoid 2 playoff matches.
Leao lost every ball he touched. He missed half the passes he attempted. He lost every duel he entered. That was an awful first half by.
No, you know what I think
Leao.
though, and I said this on the group chat. If Leao has a terrible first half, you shouldn't substitute him, because Leao is a player of 90 minutes.
Yes.
At least give him to the 70th, because he can turn the game around by himself.
That's what I said.
That's why I said thankfully there was the muscular thing, which helped kind of back up his argument. I think Theo deserved to get substituted just because he was ass. And once again, a shit show against Parma. Completely at fault. Cancelleri, hey, cut inside, shoot on your stronger foot.
Exactly.
Did Theo not do his homework? He doesn't know that Cancelleri, that's what he does. And he can hit it like that. Just backed up.
It must be said that the distance between the defensive line and the midfield line was too wide in that moment, and in many moments during
Could have
this game.
intercepted it, but he slipped, to be fair.
Exactly. The high block was the downfall. There was a lot of space between the midfield and the defense, and Parma did exploit that. But yes, showing Cancelleri onto his stronger foot, letting him cut inside and shoot is just crazy. And foolish. But I had the same thought as you when it came to Leao, because Leao will drop a performance like this in the first half, and then in the second half he'll just have a moment where he absolutely does the whole team and scores. He is a player that only needs one moment, and he could change the game for you. So it was very bold of Conceição, but holy crap, man, he pulled it off.
He pulled it off. I want to highlight another Milan player, but from a positive lens. It is the importance of Yunus Musa, who's been very overlooked also. Let me tell you why he's so important. Firstly, he's been playing well. To be honest, I think most of the games he hasn't put a foot wrong. He's been dependable. Secondly, Milan started the game in a 4-3-3 formation. Okay? The sequence of events basically is that from a 4-3-3 formation after Leao was taken out, and they brought on for Leao. Who came on for Leao? Ben Nasser.
Yes,
so Ben Nasser came on for Leao. Pulisic moved to the left. Who went right wing after being in centre mid? Musa.
Yes.
Later on in the game, Calabria was taken out for Jovic to go for a 4-4-2. Who went right back?
Musa.
Yunus Musa.
Yes, these Americans are used as fillers.
Yes, bro, but he played.
As well.
Yeah, he played 3 positions in one match. For a manager that wants to be dynamic, to find in-game solutions, to change formation without making 5 substitutions in the 50th, 60th minute, this guy is so important. And let me tell you what, bro, when he was playing centre mid, great. When he was playing right wing, great. When he was playing right back, great. Completely so important. One of me under Conceição so far.
Been one
of the most important players, Musa.
Against Juve in the Supercoppa, he
Musa,
forced the
Musa. All the Arabs were going nuts. Musa.
Like, who are the best players? Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, Yunus Musa. So yes, he plays those roles very well. He's like a utility player. He's kind of the Radek Krunic of this era. Yeah, absolutely, bro. I don't think we should spend much longer on this. I think that it's a massive victory for Milan ahead of the derby. A loss here or a draw would have killed confidence, but this actually ends up working in Milan's favor, because
another comeback for Milan. And of course, just to let you guys know, Juric straight into the starting 11.
And what a performance. He's so underrated, man.
He is. For those knockdowns, the fact that you could just bypass the midfield by knocking it up to him is super important.
It's true. And it gives them a totally different avenue. That's different to Bonny. Because Bonny had dipped a little bit, and like this as well.
So they have a very experienced striker as well, right? Which is important.
Absolutely. So
what's next? Should we do Atalanta or Inter next?
Let's go to Inter. Let's go to
Okay.
Lecce Inter because it's more straightforward, because it was an absolute spanking. It was dominant. It was a 4-0 victory against Lecce and Lecce's own stadium. Frattesi opened the scoring early. He capitalized on a mistake. Then Lautaro Martinez extended the lead with the goal of the week from long range. He's just doing this for fun at this point. Then Dumfries said "fuck you, Jake," and scored a left-footed goal. Then Taremi got one as well with a penalty. Frattesi, after Frattesi was fouled in the box, there were 2 goals that were disallowed as well. Inzaghi rotated as well this game. He played Carlos Augusto from the start and he put on a great performance.
Yeah.
It wasn't even visible that Di Marco was missing this game. Zielinski played instead of Çalhanoğlu.
The regista.
Exactly.
Frattesi instead of
decent
Barella.
job.
Mkhitaryan still there. A lot of rotation. It must be said, Lecce did have a number of injuries and suspended players. Of course, Rebic was sent off and therefore suspended. Banda, Berisha, Gaspar, Raffia and Marchvinsky were all injured, while Gallo wasn't at 100%, and you could tell, to be honest, by his performance that he wasn't at 100%. But I think the major talking point over here would, of course, be Zielinski in the register role. This, of course, comes after 2 main things happened. Aslani has been maybe not getting booed by the Inter fans, but every time he makes a mistake, which is a lot, you could hear groans, sighs, a few boos here and there as well.
He's being watched very closely.
Yeah, he's being micromanaged by everyone's just not working for him. The game ends, he goes straight down the tunnel, doesn't even say anything to the fans, not to his teammates, not to the manager, or to the opponents. It's like he's embarrassed almost. So Zielinski went into Regista, and that kind of solved 2 problems. The Aslani problem, that he wasn't performing, and the fact that Frattesi wasn't getting minutes and that he wanted out, essentially, because that allowed him, with Barella also being rested, with also an important Champions League match coming up, as well as the derby. Frattesi played, and Frattesi got a goal in the 6th minute. And he spoke after and basically said, like, he loves Inter, man. And ideally he wants to stay at Inter. He just wants to play football at Inter and not warm the bench, because he's a very talented player. But that move kind of solved those problems, and I think it was a big statement by Inter to Roma as well of, look, he's in our starting 11 now, so pay up if you
look at what he's doing. He's scoring every 3 minutes.
Yeah.
The start of the game. I thought it was a replay scoring.
Hey, man.
Inter were just a machine, and they just kept ticking and ticking and ticking in all the right ways, while Lecce, man, wow, they looked bad.
They did look bad.
They looked so submissive to them, and then they had no response for Inter whatsoever. And it was just pure domination. And Lecce are one of the teams in Serie that can get dominated, that can get destroyed. There are some teams that just have that potential on their day when things go terribly, they get absolutely destroyed.
They can put it on their opponents as well. Let's remember they killed Napoli recently as well, and they still have that fresh new Giampaolo effect that is making them a little bit better. They're not a perfect team by any means, actually. I think they're definitely candidates for relegation.
But you know what the thing is with them, man? They beat the teams they have to beat.
That's it.
Like, they've beaten Cagliari this season, they've beaten Verona, they've beaten Venezia,
there you go,
they've beaten Monza, they've beaten Empoli, you know what I mean? But then they lose 4-0 to Inter, you know? I mean, they're not going to lose too much sleep over it. The last week's game was kind of dreadful for them. I mean, a 4-1 loss to Cagliari is really bad for them.
That's 8 goals conceded in 2 games. That's going to hurt.
But now, next, they're playing Parma, so we'll see what they do.
Yeah, that's a good game for them.
But this game, I'm pretty sure that it's a bit of a write-off for them. But yes,
Taremi also got his first goal in Serie A from the spot. Takes penalties really nicely. It completely looked like he was going left. His entire body and his leg was angled to go left. Then last second, he switches it up.
It's true.
Well taken penalty.
He takes them really well. I mean, there isn't really much to say about Inter right now. This was a particularly impressive victory for them because they managed to do it by rotating players with different play styles, which is what we always say, right? Different characteristics on the bench.
And they absolutely needed this ahead of the derby. This is exactly what Inter needed ahead of the derby. I think Milan are obviously fired up after that win, and hopefully Milan will be fired up from making top 8 in Champions League after the game against Dinamo. But Inter needed to dominate a team with these players that don't exactly fit their system, and that's what they did. So it's going to be a good derby.
Absolutely.
Lucky bastard.
We can move on to Torino.
Shall we do Atalanta?
Okay.
Actually,
let's do. Yes, this was a really good game.
It was an excellent game.
And Como were better than Atalanta.
Bro,
the majority of the game.
Lest we forget, Como got their first win of the season, 3-2 against Atalanta away in Bergamo.
Yes. This game was super windy.
Yeah.
Super cold. Yes. And Como actually scored first. And it was Nico Paz with a brilliant goal.
Fadera with the assist, of course.
Yes, with the assist. Diao played again this game.
Didn't have a great game.
No, not a great game. But Fadera made up for it, let me tell you that. They were really good. I found it interesting that Como started Alberto Moreno, even though he had just come back from injury. And the medics literally told Fabregas, like, you shouldn't play this guy just yet. But then apparently Fabregas had a conversation with Moreno, with the player, direct conversation, and Moreno wanted to play. He played him, and in the 25th minute he went off injured.
That's what fucking happens.
I don't know if it's a serious injury, if it's a relapse, but he did go off injured. The camera did pan to Como's president 20 minutes in, and he was fast asleep.
Oh no.
They're playing like that, and he's just knocked out asleep, like.
He expects people to buy tickets, and he's there having a nap at the stadium.
The first goal, it was Zappa Costa who was being weird and got dispossessed.
Yeah,
he was just dribbling. Sometimes he does that.
Really,
but he was dribbling just without any scope, without any aim, and he got dispossessed by Fadera, who found Paz, who rifled into the roof of the net. And then Lukman had a goal ruled off for offside. Cotrone had a goal ruled off for offside as well. CDK had a goal disallowed for handball as well, but it was Retegui eventually who would score 2 goals. And
that's all she wrote.
Just what an instinctive striker.
A true number 9. A true number 9.
Breed.
He is my favorite striker in the world at the moment, man. Honestly, I think he is this season, of course, up there with the best strikers in the world. Of course, Haaland isn't having a great season, etc. I think Retegi's up there, man, and it's a no-brainer. He starts for the Nazionale. To think they have Scamacca as well, recovering from injury, man.
Yes,
what
he starts.
Great problem
he starts
to have.
For sure, and even Keane is doing quite well, so that's a good thing for Italy. But Retegui right now, just in the box, you can give him the ball anywhere, and you feel like he's gonna score.
Yeah, bro,
not even get it on target. He's gonna score.
A brilliant goal against Juve, excellent goal against Juve. Amazing goal against Napoli. Now a doppietta against Como to get them back into the game and to win the game after being down. That's 4 goals in 3 vital games for Atalanta.
Yes.
Keep in mind, by the way, Atalanta were coming back after that home loss to Napoli. And this was their first Serie A win of the year because they were struggling.
Yes.
And
Lukman went off injured. He got injured now.
Yes,
Lukman's injured.
Oh shit! Was it
so
serious? Do you know?
I don't know yet, but he's gonna miss the next one.
Also, the Como, they were on great form coming into this game. They had held Lazio, and then they killed Udinese 4-1.
Yes.
So it was not an easy game for Atalanta.
But this is what we said last week, that this is Como's level at the moment. They can play to the level of the big boys because their football is just so complex, and their patterns are so hard to kind of read as an opponent because you never know which way they're going to go. Their players are so dynamic, and not to mention they're really tight as a unit. They're hard to penetrate.
Yeah, bro, Fabregas is a great manager. He's getting this team playing so well.
He's showing good signs.
Just to say, I think Como will be disappointed with this result because now they have a stretch of super hard games that we went through last episode, and this was the first one, and they could have won. Yeah, or at least gotten a draw.
And Fabregas was telling them, he was like, "This is what I want to see. You made me so proud." He was like, you played to their level. Like you destroyed these guys. Not only did you play to their level, he was telling me you were better than them all game, and it's true they were.
Absolutely.
Listen to the stat, by the way. Atalanta and Cagliari have won the most games in the league from behind this season with 13.
Oh wow! Okay. Milan will break that record by the end of the season. That's for sure. Nico Paz has 5 goals this season, just worth mentioning. That was his 5th goal in his debut season in Serie A for a newly promoted team. pretty good.
Absolutely. And we spoke about him a little bit. Hopefully he manages to stay in the league.
Yeah.
Shall we go to Torino Cagliari?
Can I just ask you one more question?
Please, of course.
About this? Are Atalanta still candidates for the Scudetto? They're on 46 points. Napoli are on 53.
We have a question about this in the question segment. I don't know if we should save it or just... Let me address it now, actually. Let's read out that question.
Let's read out the question, because at this rate, we're 1 hour, 20 minutes in, so we might as well address questions.
So, let me find it. It was... yes. So, Yiri wrote
Shout out Yiri.
And first he asked, is Atalanta going to be a giant of Italian football?
I think they are.
I think they will be, man, because they're already a very strong team and they have already started to become respected in Europe. Like they're in the top 8 of the Champions League, you know what I mean? Everyone talks about them. Now you talk to casuals who don't watch Serie A, like they all know Atalanta nowadays is a formidable, exciting team.
For sure.
The question is, can they employ the right people after Gasperini?
That's the main thing. That's the main thing. Of course, they have a great scouting network. They have a great team behind Gasperini. But the way that Gasperini gets these guys to play is not to be undermined. It's not just the scouts. So after Gasperini, that's going to be the...
Absolutely. And the question is as well, are they going to increase? We've seen them do it already. Their wage bill. Because the way they're such a financially healthy club and the way they're going, they afford in 10 years to have some of that, to offer some of the highest wages in Italy if they continue to make the profits they're making from players and from just continuous European qualifications and trophies. But yes, so I great question. I do think so. I think they're on the right track to become a giant of Italian football.
And the Scudetto?
So, and how many... So he asks, what percentage would you give for teams to win the Scudetto? He says, I don't know if you understand, but out of 100%, what would you give each
Divide
team?
them on the top 3 that are in the chance to
I
win
have
it.
gone 45 Napoli, 40 Inter, 15 Atalanta.
I completely agree with you.
Yes?
I completely agree with you.
So I gave Napoli the edge simply because of what I've seen recently. It's just getting better and better for them.
A 5% edge over Inter is fair enough. Like a 5%
Inter
edge.
remain the
I'd
favorites.
argue
It's
maybe
the schedule.
Maybe 40-20.
I thought that was what I put originally.
But 45 Napoli, they're our favorites. Serie A spotlight believe Napoli will win the league. No?
We said it from the get-go.
We said it from...
You can go to... We'll see it. I mean, they could dip, they could catch fire, they could implode.
I'm here giggling.
Who was it who was being interviewed and he said that the time for Napoli players to enjoy themselves is on match day?
Joe
Wow.
Mama. I forgot who it was.
Yes, but one of the Napoli players was being asked about content. He was like, we train every day, there are no days off.
Politano,
like, it's absolutely brutal. I forgot who it was.
It was Politano.
It's absolutely brutal. He said the easiest days of the week are the match days, which is just crazy.
Yeah, it makes sense though.
Yeah. Okay, let's go through the rest of the week. So, Torino took on Cagliari on Friday. Yes, they beat them 2-0. It was because of Shea Adams' brace. Vanoli set up with a 4-2-3-1 with Vlasic and Karamoh playing behind Adams. It provided a lot of depth for them. An attack Ricci dictated the tempo from midfield. Of course, Cagliari played a 4-2-3-1 but failed to create meaningful chances, despite their changes in the second half, which have proved to be very effective as of late. Usually Nicola changes the games with the substitutions. Torino dominated the flanks, and that's where they found a lot of success through Karamoh and Lazaro. And apart from a Pavoletti header later on, Cagliari didn't really do much.
Zortea had an uncharacteristically bad game. Pardon me.
Cagliari away from home are very different, huh? They need their 12th man.
Yeah. This is Torino's first win since early December. Early December.
Whoa.
So they had been almost 2 months without a victory. This is Shea Adams' 7th goal. He scored his 6th and 7th goal in Serie A this season, and he also has 2 assists, so that's 7 goals and 2 assists. And I also thought that Torino could have scored more, but Caprile was once again excellent for Cagliari.
Yeah. Caprile is a very good keeper who, and you can see that he's been dying to play.
That's 4 top saves in this match by him. Top quality saves.
Very good. Empoli drew to Bologna.
Oh, sorry.
1-1.
I thought I should have mentioned more points if I thought we were moving on.
Sorry, please keep going.
I thought Vlasic has been looking a lot better for Torino now and in the past few games. And the fact that Torino have just signed Elmas means that getting the ball to Shea Adams is going to be an easier task. I think Shea Adams is proving to be a true goal scorer, which is not what they thought he would be. And that's why it was so unfortunate when they lost Duvan Zapata, because remember that Torino started the season scoring loads of goals with Duvan Zapata up front.
Shea Adams, my favorite thing about his game is his IQ, man. He's so smart. And even like you see in one of his goals, it looks like a simple finish. You know, it looks like he was just squared the ball and he just blasted into the roof of the net. But he had to get that above the sliding defenders.
And how he took it away from them.
Exactly. Past the goalkeeper and just under the crossbar. Perfectly weighted. Perfectly.
The amount of talented Scotsmen there are in Serie A
it's becoming a breeding ground for these Scottish players. Aaron Hickey back in the day.
Yes, bro.
I keep saying back in the day like I'm an old man.
Ferguson, of course, as well. McTominay and Billy Gilmore. Cagliari also they could use Zito back from injury.
They
because
could.
he would have been able to attack Torino a little bit and give them a new avenue.
Yes, absolutely. They do need Luvumbo Zito. His chaos is very important to them. So Empoli and Bologna shared the spoils in a match that was defined by two first half strikes. So Lorenzo Colombo put Empoli ahead in the 24th minute with a sliding finish off of Pezzella's low cross, while Bologna responded brilliantly with a volley from Dominguez, who's just showing us more and more new elements to his game, right?
Yeah.
Dominguez, very exciting young talent, and this volley was really, really opportunistic. Very good.
Now, was it worth beating Dortmund to get their first win in the Champions League when they've got no chance of getting through to the next stage?
Do they have no chance? Is it
I believe it's no
impossible?
chance,
Yes.
bro. I believe it's no chance.
So it's absolutely impossible.
They
for
hadn't
them
won
to-
a game yet, bro. I completely doubt that they had that they have any chance. Let's have a look
So
just to
they've
confirm.
got 5 points. No, they've
got no chance.
No
Zero
chance at all.
chance. So was it worth getting that win against Dortmund for them to draw to Empoli, who have just 2 points from their last 7 matches?
Well, the fans enjoyed it. Eh?
The fans enjoyed it. It goes down in history.
Yes,
So
yes. But,
fair enough. They lost Orsolini in that game, of course. He's out injured and now Milan want to buy him. Colombo got his 5th goal of the season.
His first one away from home.
His first one away from home. His best in a singular season when out on loan from Milan was 6 for Spal. I think he's doing very well this season, and I think he's getting himself involved in the build-up. He's really linking up well with Esposito. I feel like those two were born to play together, to be honest. And it's also good to see Fazzini back in the starting 11. Of course, he played against Inter as well, but I feel like we saw more of him in this game. Amidst all the transfer rumours, he's back playing.
Good little player.
Good little player, nifty little tool.
Very, very good. Yes, the second half lacked rhythm this game. No one really created any chances. Vasquez made a few key saves to deny Odegaard and Beukema. While Bologna did show signs of fatigue, as you were saying. Yes, totally. So maybe it wasn't worth it after all. So Udinese, sorry, Udinese hosted Roma and ended. Wait a second, please.
Take a second. Take a second. Madonna, this guy. He wants my water. I have my water.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I just need some of
this guy.
Some of my own before I start vomiting everywhere. So yes, basically.
Then someone have to take your ticket. Huh?
Guess how long it had been since Roma won a game away from home?
3 months.
I need to double check the stat because it's absolutely unbelievable, bro.
Yes.
From what I read, I'm not even going to say it. I'm going to check it first.
Okay. Don't take too long. Remember, we're on air.
Yes.
Their first win away from home. Jake is checking when the last time Roma won a game was. Chesko said somewhere in the group chat.
9 months, brother.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
It makes sense. I'm
That's
looking through.
crazy,
because
bro.
I felt nervous repeating that stat. How can that be right?
That's ridiculous, man.
9 months it had been since
Oh
Roma won.
my god, it's like they birthed an away victory, my god.
Exactly. They cooked it up in the womb, this victory, and it took 2 penalties. Yeah. So Udinese took the lead
Which
this
got
game.
everyone fucking frothing about the handball rule again, man. The drama on Twitter, Madonna, about the handball rule.
Udinese took the lead in the 38th minute through Lorenzo Lucca's strike, which was a really cool goal. He's really loving life right now, Lucca, and he's becoming so confident.
Love it even more in Milan.
I think so, and Milan have been linked to him because the Jimenez deal isn't going very smoothly, is it?
You heard what Milan offered.
We want 40 million. They're like, perfect. We'll give you 20 million in 4 installments of 5 million.
How about half, and we do it across 2 years? Is what they said. Well, Milan are a joke in the transfer market, bro.
But hopefully that means we can learn to look up. We'll see anyway. So this goal came from a defensive lapse, to be honest, from Roma. And then, despite Roma's sluggish play, particularly in midfield without Paredes, because they really felt him, they managed to turn the game around after halftime. And this was their last away victory, came against Udinese as well.
Oh, wow.
In April 25th, 2024.
Madonna.
Yeah,
of course, it has to be addressed that part of the key reason that Roma struggled was the crazy rotation that there was. They played Baldanzi, Rensch was straight into the starting 11. So they were coming off a loss to Alkmaar, so they weren't exactly on great form. They were also fatigued, so we saw a lot of rotation. Hummels didn't play either. Roma are now undefeated in their last 6 Serie A matches. Ranieri in 8 games, he's won 5, drawn 2, and lost 1. So spectacular the way that they turned things out. It almost looked like there was no manager in the world that could turn it around for Roma. Who would have thought that it would be the retired Claudio Ranieri, man?
Yeah.
Udinese, on the other hand, were winless in their last 5 and coming off a 4-1 loss to Como, but they have Lorenzo Lucca.
Yes.
So, what a goal he scored, bro.
What a rocket.
And then to all those people, he's tall, so he's good at headers. Shut up. He's so good with the ball at his feet, bro.
And he knows how to attack the space really well as well.
Yes.
He's a very smart striker. I didn't describe the penalties and what happened. So Pellegrini basically scored after Cabaceres handball, which we said everyone was mental over, and then Dovbyk scored after Sava fouled El Shaarawy. Basically, that's it.
The handball, you want to get into that?
I mean, we can. I think it's a handball.
I think it's a handball as well. I think the second people start talking about intention, I stop taking them seriously. People now, rather than intention, they talk about natural positions. Look, the amount of times that I handled the ball and I didn't mean to, or I was in a natural position, because people tend to be in a natural position. I don't know if you notice this, but when people play football, not typically ooga booga booga running with their hands up like that, and that's unnatural. They're typically in a natural position. To me, bro, football, if the ball hits your hand and it's within reasonable space and it stops some kind of opportunity, if it changes the trajectory of play, if it stops someone from doing something, handball.
I just thought his arm was extended, like. So and the ball hit his hand.
Handball.
So it's a handball. Yeah.
Handball. What would have happened if his hand wasn't there?
It's one of the cheap ones. It's one of the ones that you don't really like to see. But abolishing that will create too many grey areas. I think it should just be a rule that the ball
make it so subjective.
Touch your hand.
Fucking
the more details and
bro.
Intricacies you add to it, the less consistent everyone becomes. Because and the second you add intention to it as well, it becomes really grey and subjective.
But they've ruined the rule. People are arguing over it because they made the rule too technical with all of these points. It's a handball.
I think so as well. The worst the handball that triggered me, and I got blackout drunk after because I couldn't take it anymore. We're on the cruise, and it was Dybala winning a penalty on
Oh my god!
He just lobs the ball into his hand. It was by his body. In a final, I think it was.
If it's against your body, it
was dangling beside his body.
And Rabiot scored that
right in front of him. He just trips the ball into his hand and wins the penalty. Oh my god, I was fuming, man.
Crazy.
And then on Monday night, we were treated to 2 classics. One of them was a particularly special one too, because me and Matthew had a very exciting Fantacalcio game head-to-head against each other, which ended 4-3.
Pinamonti could have won it all for me.
And instead he lost it all by missing.
He could have drawn it all, he could have won it all, but he lost it all.
Incredible.
It was almost impossible that a striker would lose it all for me. He missed a penalty. He had missed 1 out of his last fucking 6 or 7. Yeah. Crazy, man.
Rolling in the deep.
I don't get it.
You said he could have lost it all. Venezia, yes, against Verona.
The Veneto Derby.
The Veneto Derby, very good.
The Vagina Derby. What the hell?
Under
sorry.
Heavy rain. And it was a really good game. I thought that both sides played decently, to be honest. I really enjoyed watching Venezia, to be honest.
Hey, man. Hey.
They took the lead in the first half through Zerbin, who was playing as a wing back. He made an instant impact on his debut. This was his debut, of course. And then Verona equalized in the second half via Chachua, who capitalized on a counter-attack set up by Mosquera. Verona lost Tengstedt in the first half to what seemed to be a muscle injury. I'm not sure how serious it is. But they changed their system completely after that, and they actually became more relevant in the game. They changed to a 3-4-2-1. And they gained control of the game immediately, to be honest. I think Venezia sat a little bit too deep.
They kind of allowed Verona, which, to be honest, you go defensive, right?
They need to win, Venezia. They're desperate. They really need to win.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you look at... So Monza are on 13 points in last place. They're quite cut off at this point. They're 7 points behind 17th place Verona. Venezia are only 3 points ahead of them, so they're 4 points behind Verona in 17th. And then there is, in the relegation zone, currently sit Parma, right? In 18th place. On 20 points, Verona, 20 points in 17th. Lecce in 16th, 20 points. Cagliari, 21 points in 15th. Empoli, 21 points in 14th. Como, 22 points in 13th. And then Udinese and Torino are on 26 points, as well as Genoa. So, and then there's quite a cut-off over there. But 13th... down to 20th is pretty mental. So this was a relegation 6-pointer, right? I think both teams have every right to be disappointed with this result.
Yes, literally. I feel like Venezia were the more frustrated at the end of it than the other team.
Really liking Oristano, man.
Oristano is such a good dribbler.
Hey, man.
He can really dribble, man. And yes, and I'm really enjoying Nicolucci Caviglia at one point.
Yes, bro.
At one point, bro.
I had no idea this is how he plays, man.
He stepped back away from the midfield, kind of like to create space. It was a goal kick. His own keeper was taking a goal kick, and he almost called for it, pointing at the space behind him arrogantly. He was like play the ball here, like I'm open, you know. And the keeper almost like in a pissed off way, kind of just hoofs it upfield, and it was clearly too long for Nicolucci. But he's like, here, you want it in the space? Here it is in the space. Like, take it. Nicolucci steps back with one touch. He takes the ball down and turns, and like with one touch, knocks it forward in the other way completely in one motion, and then he just plays a perfectly weighted ball forward. Yeah. Wow, man! I was, at that point I went
He's on loan, right? He's on loan from Juve. Nicolucci.
I believe so. I'm not sure what the details of that contract are, but he was definitely Juve owned last season. I don't know if he's still owned by them or if they have an obligation or something. But you can check that.
He's on loan.
He's on loan, okay. Yeah. So yes, and then the evening game was Genoa 2, Monza 0. This match was decided in the second half from headers from Coney de Winter and Johan Vasquez.
What a header by de Winter.
Absolutely, really cool header. Genoa's Pinamonti missed a first half penalty after Turati made an excellent save on it. There's something Turati is not there's something he's good at, but one of his strengths is shot stopping. Yeah, he's a very good shot stopper. However, when it comes to control in his area, we've often criticized him. Just remember that. Excellent penalty save over there. Despite some promising moments, Monza failed to capitalize on their chances and remain at the bottom of the table, 7 points from safety. This is getting really bad for them. Now Atalanta want to take Daniel Maldini off their hands. They've got rid of Juric. They're looking for a replacement. Apparently they're thinking of bringing in Origi.
Okay.
I know, right?
I mean, maybe he
Try
can
it
do
out,
something. And just the poor fucks, they've got so many injuries as well, man. They've got their hands on Urbanski and straight into the starting
Bologna,
11
of course.
from Bologna,
Yeah.
so that'll help their injury crisis. But Akpro went off injured in this game. And currently out, just to read you their list.
There's Warren Bondo out as
Think
well.
of the midfielders. Pessina, Gagliardini, Bondo. All out injured. They have Birindelli out, they have Mari out, they have Cranio out, Caldirola, and of course Bianco wasn't 100%, and nor was Carboni. So that fucking stinks, man. That stinks for Monza.
Like pure bullshit, bro.
Yeah, and they just got off a victory, the poor guys. But where do you think they could? I know the transfer market is gonna be dead by probably the next episode, but what can they do, bro, to turn it around? Omari Forson hasn't smelt the pitch since joining from United.
At this point, I would prioritize a striker. You need someone to score. That's gonna end up being the difference between them. You know, every team has. Verona have Tengstedt and Mosquera who get a handful. You know, you look at Parma, they had Boni who was scoring, and now they've brought in Juric who can definitely get a few goals. Everyone's got a striker down there. Even Lecce have Kristovic, you know. Everyone's got a striker who scores. Monza don't.
Don't you think it's fucking stupid that they got rid of Juric?
I don't know, man. I think maybe the player wanted out at this point. Maybe. It could be. I don't know what happened over there, but it is a bit bizarre that they got rid of him. Or maybe they're simply offloading him to try to bring in someone to save them. A more prolific player, less of a team player. But we'll see. I also think they could benefit from a powerful and fast wing-back, huh? Someone find someone young who needs a loan spell or something. But their transitions, they need someone who's going up and down, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They need a Dumfries type, a Nuno Tavares type, that type of...
Yeah, just within, obviously.
Yeah, of course, within their budget. Yes, within their budget, of course. Yeah. But it's looking dire.
They're in serious trouble, Monza. They're favourites for relegation now. We're 22 matches in, you know?
Absolutely, yes. But yes, that was it for the football. How much time do we have left?
We've got 20 minutes. Shall we do listener questions?
Let's get into the fun stuff.
Okay.
And then we'll do listener questions, okay? Because the fun stuff is really fun. Raja Nainggolan, former Cagliari, Roma, and Inter man, yes, the Belgium international player, was arrested on January the 27th in connection with a cocaine trafficking investigation. Authorities allege that cocaine was smuggled from South America to Europe through the port of Antwerp. As part of the probe, approximately 30 houses were searched. In Antwerp and Brussels. Nainggolan's club, Lokeren Temse, who play in the second division in Belgium, confirmed his absence from training and emphasized the presumption of innocence. Nainggolan, who's just scored an Olympico, by the way, for his team. Yes, he scored from a corner. That's called an Olympico, by the way. I learned this year.
Even me. And
everyone's like, this has been a term for a long time. Like, no idea it was called an Olympico. I'd never heard it
you didn't know that?
In my 20 years of avid watching. Yeah. Like, never heard of an Olympico, but anyway. Yes. So the investigation is centered on organized drug trafficking, but it is unclear, of course, what Nainggolan's role in this is. Speculation ranges from financial involvement to direct communication with key figures in the smuggling network. So what's your reaction to this?
I don't like to judge a book by its cover. But you see what that does, when you don't like... I mean...
You're the player you brought to get promoted is under arrest.
Exactly.
That's what happened.
I mean, what's my reaction on it? I don't know. I'd like for them to get to the bottom of it so I know exactly what his involvement is, whether it's like personal use or whether he's actually part of the network. Depends how much they found on him. Is there the weight, the grams, or how many kilos or whatever?
So I think that he is... yes, it is definitely weight, That's how they
No,
determine
I'm asking...
trafficking.
but I'm asking how many they found on him.
I'm not sure, but I believe if he was... I believe it would be enough to classify him as a trafficker, right? If those were the the reports. But yes, I mean, when you are as wealthy as Nainggolan, you can have a significant amount
But
of
how do you know that
of
he's
drugs.
wealthy? As in, he's playing in the second division of Belgium, and then just
he's made
keep in
his-
mind, just because you have a good wage, it doesn't mean you're wealthy, yeah? Because
Okay, yes, sure, bro, but most
because if
likely
he's in the
he's got
cocaine industry.
most likely he's got more money than the average Maltese fellow, and those guys have enough to do
Yes,
cocaine.
yes.
You know what I mean?
In addition to the cocaine, authorities seized over 370k euros in cash, several luxury watches, including two worth 360k euros each, jewelry, and around 100 gold coins valued at more than 116,000 euros.
Yeah.
So he's linked.
He's definitely wealthy.
No, bro. He's linked to a la mafia and all
Yes,
that. You think
yes.
that's all his? He's doing that for someone. He's bottom of the pile smuggler, bro.
I
Like,
don't know.
he's
I don't
smuggling
know. No,
coke for someone. Have you watched Banged Up
I don't
Abroad,
think so.
bro?
I don't think so. Banged Up Abroad, those people are in it for the money. I think Raja wouldn't be in this for. This is my assumption, of course. Okay. Now, I believe it's either two things. One, personal use, and he's just got a shit ton, and we know he's a bit of a bad boy, so maybe these contraband things, the money in cash, could be something, perhaps potentially unrelated. However, what I think it might be, of course, just a hunch, is I forgot. I think Theo said it in the group chat. If you are an established person and you enter this type of world, it's usually for the power, the feeling of power that it gives you. And I think that might be what attracts him to it and what it is. But he's definitely no smuggler, bro.
Bro,
He would be something.
I'm not well versed on the drug industry at all.
I mean,
But the top guys don't smuggle.
That's
The
it.
top guys
Yes.
don't smuggle. The top guys,
but they handle the operations.
They handle the operations, but they choose people to smuggle
But he
for
wasn't
them.
caught smuggling to Angola, bro.
I thought he was caught
No,
smuggling,
bro.
That's what I'm
No,
saying.
no. He's linked with the things. He wasn't like caught at the airport with
I
condoms in
thought
his
he
stomach full of
was.
cocaine.
I thought he was.
no,
Okay,
bro.
no, I've
no,
got this
no,
twisted.
No,
I've
no,
got
no,
this
no,
twisted
no,
as hell. No, okay, if he's...
No wonder you thought he was broke.
That's it. He's taking a quick job. I had to make money.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm quite sure the headlines were a bit misleading because I read headlines.
There were so many headlines.
Yeah.
It must be maybe the feeling of power, but we'll see. Innocent until proven guilty, of
Or
course.
money, bro. Or bloody,
could be
he
money
just
as
he
well.
just wants cash.
Yeah.
You know how many people, like footballers, he's made a living of working hard, but he was always the guy to smoke cigarettes and then go
he's
play
always been
football.
a bad boy.
If he can find a way he doesn't have to work too much and make a shit ton of cash, he'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Emerson Royal yesterday was streaming FIFA to 53 viewers.
We had this
bizarre.
We had the same turnout once.
Exactly. It's like one of our watch-alongs.
Exactly.
It's bizarre.
Insane.
It's insane. Like, you can't write these things. And this was hilarious as well.
Uh-huh.
So in Serie C, after a game between Torres and Campobasso, a journalist mistakenly believed he was interviewing the Torres coach Alfonso Greco.
How insane.
But in reality, he was speaking to the midfielder Giuseppe Mastino, who had scored the opening goal. Mastino clarified the mix-up by saying, I'm just a player, the coach is over there. And the interviewer, first he was really embarrassed. I felt bad for him, of course, because yeah. And then he went, had you been a top model, I would have realized that. I would have realized the distinction. Like,
that's such an Italian joke to make between two men.
If you were a
like,
top model, I would have noticed. That's
Yeah.
it. Hilarious listener questions.
yes,
So Frank.
my guy.
So sorry to keep you waiting. By the way, some of these questions were asked 3 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
So Frank wishes us a happy new year.
Happy New Year to you, Frank.
Legend. If you were a club looking to invest in a player for the left attacking side for the next 3 or 4 years in your club, are you going Leao or Lookman?
What a question.
I know.
Because this is the thing. Take Lookman out of Atalanta's system, and how good is he? We've said this in the
It's risky,
episode when someone leaves Atalanta. If it's Atalanta, Lookman. Anywhere else, I think I'd go Leao.
I don't know if it's because of the system thing, because there's obviously a lot of raw talent when it comes to Lookman, and he did
he's insane.
show it elsewhere. He's just but I
broke
feel
out at Atalanta.
But wasn't he decent? Didn't he have signs in the Premier League where he was okay as well?
I guess.
Fair enough. I think that I would take the risk and go Leao. You get a player who might give you some problems, or he might get the fans against him simply because of his attitude or his mannerisms, his walking around, etc., etc., which, by the way, is less and less nowadays.
Yeah.
I think that Leao, first of all, is younger, not by much. He's 25, while Lookman is 27.
Big difference.
And I think that Leao, at his best, or Leao's strengths, when he's really utilized perfectly, is actually unplayable.
Yes,
I think that he's got a
his ceiling
skill set.
is higher.
Yes, and it's not. It's this. He's got a gear that no one else has.
Yeah.
Not even Lookman. You know what I mean? Lookman's very talented, and he can get you a goal out of nothing, and he can push and win you games on his own and have his moments. Whatever.
I don't think he can win you a game on his own.
Lookman,
he can, but he's part. He's part of an incredible, well-worked system. Leao has won games for Milan when literally no one else was even playing
Leao
football.
And Inshallah.
Leao and Inshallah. He's carried Milan. Lookman's insane. I love
Lookman's goal against Napoli, for example. That was a goal that out of nothing, totally Lookman on his own. And he's done that many times.
He linked up with his teammates for it.
They played him through, but he was still caged by 4 players. He had to beat the player. The pass was a little bit long.
No, we're saying the same thing. Lookman is insane. I'd just go Leao because he has that world-class factor to him that literally he has this level that he reaches, where when he reaches it, it's like you're talking about Vinny Jr. kind of thing.
Yes, I would take Leao personally. Would Atalanta rather win the Champions League or Serie A if given the choice?
Champions League.
Same.
I think
how boring we are. We agree on everything.
They won the Europa League. I think for them to become an established team that they're looking to become, winning Serie A would be excellent, of course. But there's nothing like winning a Champions League. There's nothing like being the best team in the world. By winning a Champions League it's the greatest honor for a football club, and it is the cherry on top of the cake because they get the Serie A recognized, they get themselves recognized. And when was the last time an Italian team won the Champions League? Inter in 2010.
I think that when Atalanta were still a small provincial side, the conversation would have gone something like, we can't even win Serie A, let alone the Champions League.
Exactly.
And I think that's simply it, right? Champions League is international recognition. It's the best tournament for clubs. So I think, aside on the wage bill of Atalanta and just a young side, like coming up recently, just through good management, winning the Champions League would be the ultimate goal for them, to be honest.
So I think it's any club's ultimate goal, to be honest.
But I'm sure they'd love to win.
In a lot of ways, winning a domestic league is harder than winning the Champions League in many ways.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. He asks, who do you think is a better coach, Italiano or Palladino? We're going to agree again.
I don't know if we're going to agree because I genuinely don't. I've been thinking about it for 2 days. And I think we're still at the start of Palladino's career at a mid to top tier team. Whereas we've seen Italiano at that team already having an element of success. Well, having success. And now we're seeing him at Bologna. So I have a bigger case study about Italiano. And when he imposes his philosophy and his play style, a team becomes awesome. Look at his Spezia, look at his Fiorentina, now look at his Bologna. I think Palladino is more of a versatile manager who's capable of finding more solutions, and I think he's capable in working in multiple different systems. And I'd say he's younger, but is he? They're both very, very, very young.
Well, I think they would be of the same. They would both be considered young managers. I think that's quite.
But I think if
Palladino's newer
money,
and younger.
If I had to bet money in 2 years, who would have the Juventus job, who would have the Barcelona job, I'd put my money on Palladino. He's more They're both modern managers, but like I said, just multiple solutions, multiple systems. Italiano, what he has is that he's a great manager. He gets the best out of players. They both have their pros. I think Palladino, he might have a slightly higher ceiling.
Interesting. Ceiling-wise, I'm not sure, honestly, because they've both shown that they can have a very bright future, both of them. However, I do think that as it stands, Italiano is the better manager. He's grown as a manager this season as well, and just watching his teams, man, it's like you have Italiano on the sideline orchestrating. He's like the puppeteer. He's so animated over there.
Yeah.
And the players, like, especially from the get-go, from the second they start, he's screaming at them and they're pressing and running their legs off. Like, he's a very, very, very good motivator. And he's grown as a manager because it's not just empty possession nowadays. Goals are coming from different avenues.
Yes.
And he's proven himself in lower tier European competitions with Fiorentina, of course, arriving in back-to-back finals. And even in qualifying for them every year in, year out. So I think that he's got that claim to fame. While Palladino really has his first challenge, as you said, he's doing quite well overall. Very well. Yes,
he's had a bad spell.
You're right. He's had a bit of a bad spell. Let's see how he recovers, of course. But yes, two very exciting managers. I think that Italiano is the slightly better.
Just keep in mind, Palladino's one step behind Italiano on the process, right? Because they were both with those relegation candidate teams. I think in those situations, Italiano did a spectacular job at saving Spezia from relegation. But to be fair, with a lot of investment by Berlusconi, Palladino managed to make Monza a top 11, top 12 team in Serie A in their first 2 seasons in Serie A, and he was excellent over there. Italiano from Spezia went to Fiorentina, got them to 2 Conference League finals and then moved on and got them back cemented as a top 7 team, essentially.
Well, keeping Spezia up against all odds, and they were playing a really nice brand of
now
football.
Palladino is at that Fiorentina step that Italiano was at. So we'll get to see. At the moment, it seems like he might outdo Italiano with his spell at Fiorentina. So that's what I'm saying, that,
similar trajectory. Very, very interesting. It's true.
Great questions by Frank. What a legend.
We should just give him a segment, Frank's questions. Honestly, they're so good. Listen to this. At the start of the season, if Conte took the Milan job, where would they be in the standings?
They'd definitely be in the Champions League spot right now. And I think they might even be top 3.
The way the
they'd
players
be top 3,
responded.
they'd be in the title run, man. It wouldn't be impossible for Milan to win the league. Look what they did with 10th place fucking Napoli. They were 10th, man.
The way the Milan players responded to Conceição makes me think even more that Milan would have done well with Conte. Because I always wondered what it would be like if an authoritarian.
You were gonna say a dictator.
Because honestly, yes, it's a bloody dictatorship.
Bloody dictatorship.
But it's benevolent.
Melanin.
Yes. I do think that they would have done well because the players responded so well to.
Bro, Milan would be Frank, I'm gonna answer your question. Milan would be challenging for the title with Conte.
It's tough to say, but I genuinely believe that'd be up there
because they'd still have Conte. They wouldn't have changed
Milan
manager and all
Milan
that.
have such a good team on paper.
Yes, bro, and they would have got if they had him from pre-season. If they had him from pre-season, they would have signed a fucking good striker. Lukaku would be at Milan. I swear on my life, Lukaku would be at Milan.
Honestly, bro, that's probably the case. Mikey Nista on Instagram says, "Hope I'm not too late."
You're not. Mike, Nistau. Nista means I can in Maltese.
Exactly.
Nistau means we can.
Jena Nisti.
Nista, inti tista, u għajja jista.
That's it, yes.
Jista.
Elementary Maltese. Inter will not win the league this season. Atalanta will bounce back from very recent performances and it will be between them and Napoli.
Okay. Inter out of the title race, Atalanta back in it. Interesting.
Just look at the standings again.
I disagree. I'm not discounting Atalanta's possibilities of getting back into the title race, but I don't think Inter will fall off that hard.
I don't think so.
I think Napoli will win the league again, but I don't think Inter will fall off that hard.
All the signs scream that Inter are the strongest team over there, man. When you look at the goal difference, you look at the losses, you look at everything, man. They've even got a game in hand. I think it would take some serious injuries for this to happen.
Barella.
Like, exactly.
Well, that was a weird move, bro, Madonna. Well, they were winning 2-0 or 3-0 or whatever, and they brought on what the hell are you doing? And he instantly got clarted, bro, and he was screaming.
Yeah.
That was a weird move, bro.
Inzaghi's weird.
Yeah, he is weird.
His decision-making sometimes is very, very, very textbook, I feel.
I don't think Atalanta can overtake Inter, particularly because Inter have Atalanta's number, man. And Inter are just consistent, man. When was the last time Inter lost in Serie A? They don't. They have one loss, no? To Milan.
One loss to Milan.
There you go.
Yes, absolutely. Moise Kean was a far better striker than Vlahovic ever was. I agree with you that Moise Kean is currently better than Vlahovic, but I would take the Fiorentina Vlahovic over the current Kean, I think.
Vlahovic had a year and a half where, wow, like he was an 80 million striker.
If you give him the ball over the top and he's running in the direction of the defensive line or running alongside the defender, you were done.
I think he's right when he says, as in, if what he means is Kean is a more well-rounded striker, I agree.
Yes.
I agree. But I think there was a season and a half that if Moise Kean were to have that season and a half, let's just say, it would be an insane achievement. A move away for Vlahovic is going to be interesting because hopefully we get to see that version of him again.
So Mikey, we disagreed with both your hot takes. So if
that's what makes them hot.
Time will tell, exactly.
Yes.
And do let us know in the future if any of them come true. If Atalanta, for example, end up challenging for the title and Inter end up falling a little bit. That would be great.
Tease us. We're on the 2-hour mark.
He hit us with a Forza Napoli, sempre, and love from Australia.
Oh, love you, bro. Love you. We love Australia.
Yes. Tony sent us a very long one. And I think it's very interesting, to be honest. I'm just going to go through it. Okay. I prepared a model answer.
Take your time,
if you agree with it. So
shout out Tony
V. Shout out Tony. Long time no speak. He says, could say learn from the US's National Football League, the NFL, approach to parity, specifically, its salary cap system and other league mechanisms. As context, the NFL has managed to maintain competitive balance across teams through measures like a strict salary cap, revenue sharing, and draft and trading systems. In contrast, Serie obviously struggles with competitive disparity, with the financial clout of a few big clubs dominating the league. Exploring how some of these NFL principles could be adapted to Serie A could open a fascinating discussion on improving the league's overall appeal and long-term sustainability. It would be fantastic to hear your thoughts. Keep up the good work.
I think in general, I don't know if the disparity in Serie A is as prominent, maybe with Juventus versus everyone else, because at the end of the day, the way it is in Italy is technically because not many of the football teams own their stadium. So ticket sales, they don't make much from ticket sales apart from Juve, who make a chunk over there. That's why they struggled during COVID so much. Udinese. And then it's like the best businesses which make the best money, which to me makes it fair, because behind the scenes where there's the competition of football, there's the competition of business, of these football teams being businesses, which Atalanta excel at, Napoli excel at, for example, which makes it interesting, and to me it makes it more fair than it is in the Premier League. Do I think that football in general could learn from the salary cap thing that is implemented in the NFL? Abso-fucking-lutely, and every league should have a salary cap, because otherwise we wouldn't have. It removes the dynamic of Atalanta selling Højlund for 50 million to United, which would suck. You know what I mean? Because you use the big fish to your advantage. Big fish eats small fish. But sometimes the big fish gets food poisoning, and the small fish manages to find its way out. So it removes a certain beauty that Serie A shows through street smartness, good business, etc. But I think football is in dire need for some kind of salary cap, because PSG, Real Madrid, Manchester City, these clubs are a cancer, unfortunately, to football with the amount of cash injections that they get.
But just like in every story, or in every story, let's say that, you always have the giant. You have David, you have Goliath, right? And that kind of adds to it as well. The dominance is definitely not exactly fair, and especially when they have, I think the lone players needs to be controlled, especially. You can't sometimes, and I think they have introduced something. No, Barca recently got a whole lot of drama
Barca,
with the Colombo
PSG,
thing,
Chelsea.
But first of all, doing this to Serie A would be impossible because of the global nature of football. Of course, the NFL is limited to one continent. In Serie A, this would be impossible because the other leagues would just offer higher salaries and everyone would go there, and you'd end up with a mediocre league. A salary cap, yes, would lead to top players leaving. And when it comes to financial fair play, I think Serie A could focus on it, sure. Investing in smaller clubs and infrastructure, but however, I think this is an interesting point. A luxury tax, bro. A luxury tax. So let's say if a team spends more than, I don't know, let's call it anything over 40 million.
Luxury.
Okay. So you buy a player for 60 million. I think the millions that you spend over the
40 million, the cap
needs to be spread it needs to be taxed and spread among the lower teams in the division. And I think that's something that could happen. I know it happens in Major League Baseball.
Okay.
Something similar. And I think it would be quite nice, why not? You're still allowing the big fish to spend.
That's so
However,
hipster.
the likes of Lecce benefit a little bit from it,
That's fucking fair, man.
As in
I don't know. I need to sit on that one because it technically works. It's just like, why should Lecce benefit from Juve signing Cristiano Ronaldo?
Because they're in the same league, to maintain the competitive nature of the league, to avoid getting a one-team league.
I like it. I think I like it. It's weird. I've never heard of anything like it. You get taxed, and that tax goes to the smaller teams. What constitutes a smaller team? Is interesting because standing in the table, it could be like if Roma are in 15th place and they get a cash injection because Juve signed Cristiano Ronaldo, it would be weird. So I think what constitutes a smaller team, I think over there they need to look at the financials. So like teams whose revenue is under X amount, they could benefit from that. That would be that would be cool.
I think
what a question, by Tony. I love that.
Question.
I love
That's
that.
True. We can move on
Last
to
few. We're over 2 hours.
Ilya Shashba.
Yo.
He says, hot take, Reinders has proved to be the best midfielder in Serie A and one of the best in world football. I don't think he's the best in Serie A
Not the best, but he's up there.
Barella's better.
He's up there. Barella is so talented, A.
I know who I prefer
B,
watching, I don't get me wrong.
Yes. But then he's so beneficial to this particular Inter team. He's the center of it, completely. And I don't want him to be overlooked for that. But Reinders, the way he grew from one season to another shows that his capacity is huge. And he's so technically gifted, and he can't lose the ball. And he's got such an eye for goal.
It's true.
And his vision is great.
Sometimes
he's exceptional.
He still shoots when he shouldn't, I think, still.
Sometimes.
And I think that's just a person, a character, I think, to be honest. But I think Barella, Ederson, Reinders are the top three right now.
Barella, Ederson, great shout with Ederson. I think so.
Those guys.
I think so.
The last one.
Don't forget Lobotka and their own, who played, to be fair, deeper.
It's true.
But yeah.
Often on some. Hi Serie A Spotlight, Arthur says on Twitter,
hey,
this is
Arthur.
my only way of reaching you.
Gatti out, does it say Gatti out?
It's hashtag Gatti out. It's better call Keenan is his handle. For the love of God, please talk about this on your next podcast. This is a comparison side by side of Shea Adams and Dusan Vlahovic, and we can end this episode on this. So this is on FOTMob, right? Let's start with minutes played. Shea Adams has more. He has 1,425. Vlahovic has 1,332, but we're in the same water.
Yeah.
Goals scored, 7 each. Expected goals, Adams is on 4.42. Vlahovic is on 10.1. So Vlahovic is underperforming his XG, while Adams is overperforming.
See the goals Adams scores. You'd never think he's going to score from those positions.
Cockpit, for example. Adams 2 assists, Vlahovic 1 assist. Expected assists 2.2 for Adams, 0.5 for Vlahovic. Chances created 20 Adams, 9 Vlahovic.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Overall, Adams is just better than Vlahovic this season.
Yeah.
And he's doing it at a team that really, really, really has struggled to create in Torino. So while Vlahovic is on a team that should technically be serving him with world-class players.
Let me ask you this before we end it. Vlahovic, is that another fuck up by Giuntoli? Do you think that with the trajectory he was going at, they could have cashed on him earlier, especially when Chelsea wanted him, for example? I guess you had to give him an opportunity under Motta because Allegri was very conservative, didn't play to his strengths. To be fair, Motta doesn't play to his strengths either, to be completely fair to Vlahovic. He'd fit more in at Milan. I think if Milan and Juve were to swapsies their strikers before they got Colomwani, if Juve got Morata or Tammy and Milan got Vlahovic, they'd thrive. Yes. Every single one would benefit there.
I totally agree with you. I think Vlahovic selling him off before the arrival of Motta would have been as crazy as letting Huijsen go before the arrival of Motta. Shall I read these out quickly? Well, I could do it in 2
hours, 10 minutes.
I could do it in 2 minutes. What's 2 more minutes?
We have 1 minute, but sure.
Okay, let's go. So Kayode has left Fiorentina and gone to Brentford. Udon has left Lecce and gone to Sampdoria. Curto from Como has gone to Sampdoria as well. Let's just go to the important ones. Kyle Walker, of course, has joined Milan from City. Urbanski has left Bologna and gone to Monza. Gioacchini has left Como. Danilo has left Juve and returned to Brazil. Altare has left Venezia and gone to Sampdoria as well. Renato Vega, a centre-back from Chelsea, has joined Juventus. Cyprien from Parma has left. He's gone to Yatai. Don't know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Genoa have signed a goalkeeper called Sigrist, while Magnani has gone from Hellas Verona to Palermo. Danilo Vega, the right back, has joined Lecce. Thiago Gabriele, centre back, has also joined Lecce. Both players arrived from Estrella Amadora, while Daniel Oyegoke has joined Hellas Verona from Scotland. So that means that they got him for 400k. They'll sell him for like 5k,
exactly,
20k maybe, 20 mil. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. I'll be back alone next week if everything goes to plan, because Jig's obviously going to be in Milan for his 30th. Love you all and see you next week. Ciao.
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
The football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake.
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.